Joe, good to see you. How you doing? Evening. How you been? Pablo, good to see you. So how you doing? How you been? How's things, Pablo? Tor, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Happy Pisces, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Come on, good to see you as well, brother. How you doing? How you been? Good evening, Miles and CMF. Free and Feather, good to see you as well. How you doing, brother? How you been? Pierce, good to see you as well. How you doing? Evening, how you been? Hey, Miles, how you feeling? Mickey, feeling a bit better. I had a lot of back pain yesterday, and I couldn't sit up straight, so I had to lie down throughout pretty much the whole night. I tried to do the live yesterday, but I couldn't sit down properly. But a lot better now. Good evening, Professor Miles. Good to see you, so funky brother. How you doing? G, good to see you. So how you doing? How you been? So yeah, I'm feeling better now, Mickey. Thanks for asking, brother. Do you think the Bybit hack scenario is legit? It's a great question. So there's a lot of scenarios going around regarding this whole Bybit situation. One particular scenario is that it could be an inside job. The other scenario is, which has been confirmed, was the Lazarus group, which are based out of North Korea. Now, the Lazarus group have pretty much hacked and manipulated a lot of crypto projects, and they've essentially hacked quite a lot of minuscule exchanges. This was pretty much their largest gig to date. But a lot of people are coming out and saying, it could be an inside job from Bybit. I don't think in any sort of a way it was an inside job, because it has been confirmed that it was essentially the Lazarus group, and that confirmation came from Arkham Intelligence, which is essentially a blockchain firm and a blockchain project that searches around and sniffs around to see which wallet belongs to who, which hacks belong to which wallets, scammer wallets, and so on. They sniff out government wallets, for example. So it was definitely a hack, without a doubt. It was definitely a hack. Has been confirmed that it was the Lazarus group in some sort of a way. But a lot of people are coming out and saying essentially that it was an inside job, and it wasn't. In any sort of a way, it wasn't an inside job. It was a hacker that did this, or a group of hackers that did this. But the interesting part is the time frame of this hack. So apparently, you know what? I'm going to do the essentially intro and then disclaimer, and then I'll tell you what else is happening with this whole Bybit situation, the exchange situation, Bybit. Welcome to the CMF Live if you're watching this for the first time ever. The CMF stands for Crypto Miles Family. And my name is Miles, and I go by the persona of Crypto Miles. I'm the host of this live that airs Monday to Friday on X Live and on YouTube Live. And I talk about the most recent news that's happening around the world in terms of cryptocurrencies, CBDCs, AI, politics, and regulations. So vital information for you to know about regarding essentially how the world is transforming into this digital space. The disclaimer of this live, as always, is not financial advice, not political advice, and whatever I say is only for entertainment purposes. So if you're watching this for the first time ever, welcome to the CMF Live. And if you're a regular, let's go CMF. And I just want to take a second just to say thank you so much to everyone who has liked this live, because I'm getting notifications from X. Thanks so much to everyone who's liked this live, who's retweeted this live, who's put a comment. George, thank you so much for liking this live, who's put a comment outside the live on X, who's liking each other's comments outside the live, who's hashtagging the XRP on me on essentially X Live as well. And thanks so much to everyone on YouTube who's watching right now, who's also liked the live as well, put a comment outside the live also. Now, Bybit situation. Actually, before we talk about that as well, let's go inside the comment section first, and then we talk about the Bybit situation. So let's see where we were at inside the comment section. We were at here. Hope you're good. I'm doing better, funky brother. Good to see you. So how you doing? Hi, Miles. Hope you're feeling better, man. I'm feeling better, Zach. Let's go. Hi, Miles and CMF. Dennis, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Morning, Miles. Glad your back is better. Thank you so much, Shelly. Good to see you as well. How you doing? Good evening, Miles and all CMF. Good to see you tonight. JP, good to see you as well, brother. How you feeling, Miles? Greetings, CMF. Let's go, Lena. How you doing? Feeling better, Lena? Thanks so much for asking as well. You're so good. I don't know why you don't have few million subs. I've been asking myself the same question. I don't know why I don't have millions of subscribers. I've been asking myself the same question. But I appreciate it. I appreciate the comment, honestly. Thank you so much. Good evening, Miles. How are you today? I'm doing great, Callie. Good to see you as well. How you doing? Hello, Miles. Glad you're doing better. Troy, good to see you as well. How you doing? Thanks so much, brother. Bybit couldn't afford a bad publicity like this for it to be an inside job. I agree 100% because it's not an inside job. A lot of people are claiming it might be essentially an inside job, but it's not in any sort of a way. So glad you feel better. Perhaps don't keep your XRP packed wallet in your back pocket. Grant Cardone has no back pain since he dumped his XRP, which is facts. And I try to put Grant Cardone in his place because even though I might be a nobody inside the crypto space compared to somebody like Grant Cardone, he's only big inside the crypto space because of his real estate space a long time ago. But what Grant Cardone said was pathetic in my point of view. Him tweeting out, and the interesting part is him tweeting out and doing a poll on which is a better crypto project, XRP or Bitcoin, and then XRP wins. And then he changes the scenario and does a different poll, XRP wins again. Every poll Grant Cardone did till now, XRP won every single poll. Didn't matter what the question was, XRP just won. And then he deletes one poll as well, and then he tweets out today essentially saying, I dumped all of my XRP because I don't want to follow the narrative and so on. But Grant Cardone follows the Bitcoin narrative, which contradicts his first statements. He laid out these 6 steps of what not to do inside the crypto space. And step 1 was not to follow the narrative. But in reality, he's following the Bitcoin narrative. So I don't know what it is with Bitcoin maxis, but they're all just deluded in some sort of a way. But, I made a tweet about it, essentially calling him a moron in some sort of a way, saying, what he did, dumping his XRP as if he's trying to make some sort of a big statement is pathetic in sense. But yeah, honestly, people like this is just frustrating to talk to regarding Grant Cardone. You are so good. I don't know why you don't have millions of subs. Let's go, Samuel. I'm still wondering the same question. Hello, CMF family. Troy, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Good evening, Miles and CMF. Hope you're better. Let's go back XRP. I'm doing a lot better, I'll be honest. I had a lot of back pain yesterday. Good evening, Miles and CMF. Let's go back XRP. Evening, Pure. Good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Hi, Miles and CMF. George, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Good evening, Miles. Hope you're feeling better. Hello, CMF. Let's go offline. Feeling better. Hello, Miles and CMF. Comatose, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Morning, Miles and CMF. Hope everything is well. It's great, Solomon. Good to see you as well. How you doing? As I said before, Miles, with crypto, it's 1 step forward and 2 steps back. I mean, look, you can't factor in a hack. Nobody ever sees a hack coming, but you just know it's going to be there somewhere down the road. Something's going to get compromised. But you know what this does? The whole hacking situation with the Lazarus group and Bybit, it just builds the argument of, some people might not like this, but it builds the argument for wholesale CBDCs even further, for, centralized banks and governments and so on, that, if countries focused more on wholesale CBDCs, again, not my words, but it just seems what the narrative is going to become, that if countries focused more on wholesale CBDCs, it's difficult to hack a centralized bank, but it's not that difficult to hack an exchange. Exchanges have been compromised before. Bybit's situation is quite a big one, no doubt about it. It's a very big one, but exchanges have been compromised in the past. Wallets have been compromised in the past, cold and hot. But again, scenarios like this regarding Bybit just builds a strong case for the CBDC space, for the governments and centralized banks, that, if the world ran on CBDCs, then it will be more safer going into a digital world because it's difficult to hack a centralized bank, not that difficult to hack an exchange. So it might just build that argument for CBDC even further, to be honest. This hacking situation, this bull run looks very different. It's been different from the start, I'll be honest. Hello, Miles. Johnny, good to see you. So how you doing? How you been? Hi, Miles. Paul, good to see you. So how you doing? How you been? Is Pi now live, and can we sell our minted collection? Apparently, yes, it is live, but you can't sell your minted Pi collection. Actually, on the topic of Pi, So everybody's, fully aware of the Bybit situation, which we're going to go in a little bit more detail of the hacking scenario and, which group it particularly was, which wallets it went to, and so on. But one particular crypto community are actually happy that Bybit got compromised, believe it or not. And that particular crypto community are the Pi community. So if anybody's ever heard of the token Pi, which was a crypto application on Android and iOS, you would download, press a button, and cloud mine Pi, for example. It's a Chinese, essentially based crypto blockchain, you could say. And what happened was Bybit's CEO called Pi token a scam. So every exchange pretty much was slowly listing Pi token one by one yesterday. And then Bybit's CEO, out of nowhere, randomly comes out and goes, Pi token is a scam and we're not going to list it, we're rejecting it, and so on and so on. 24 hours later, Bybit exchange gets compromised for $1.5 to $1.3 billion. And the Pi community are saying this is karma. And there is no correlation between it whatsoever, except the coincidence of time. That he called Pi token a scam. 24 hours later, as the CEO of Bybit, his company gets compromised, the exchange gets compromised for $1.3 to $1.5 billion in Ethereum. There's no correlation between that. Lazarus groups are Pi holder tokens and are waiting for Bybit to list the token. They're angry at Bybit's CEO for calling it a scam. But the timing is quite interesting, I'll be honest. But, one particular crypto community right now, the Pi token community, are, sending out funny tweets and to the CEO of Bybit and saying this is karma for calling our token a scam token 24 hours before and so on. But that's an interesting play right there. Let's see where we were. So yes, it is live on a few exchanges, but I don't think it's live for you to sell your minted tokens for now. I think it's in 2 years' time you can sell them. Miles, David, good to see you. So how you doing? How you been? He's a Bitcoin a-hole, according Grant Cardone. Yeah, he is. Hi, Miles. It's CMF Stormy. Good to see you. So how you doing? How you been? Hello, Miles. Good to see you as well. Richard, how you doing? How you been? Hello, Miles. Hope you're better. T, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Even Miles at CMF. Manny, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? So, Bybit, the biggest news right now, which is, creating a volatile stage inside the crypto space. Caroline, how you doing? How you been? Bybit, $1.5 to $1.3 billion situation with Bybit Exchange. So how North Korea's Lazarus group stole the spotlight today. The cryptocurrency industry was essentially rocked by a shocking news. The crypto exchange Bybit suffered what has been labeled the largest hack in the sector's history, with an estimated loss of nearly $1.5 billion in essentially Ethereum tokens. Arkham Intelligence announced via its X account that the mystery behind this massive attack has been solved thanks to the work of the renowned on-chain investigators ZachXBT. In a post essentially published today, Arkham Intelligence detailed that ZachXBT provided definitive evidence identifying the Lazarus group linked to the North Korean government as essentially the perpetrators behind this whole entire hack on the Ethereum wallet of Bybit. The hack described by Bybit's CEO Ben Zhu involved essentially unauthorized access to an offline wallet, allowing the hackers to transfer assets with essentially worth approximately $1.46 billion in a series of suspicious transactions. The evidence presented by ZachXBT included a detailed analysis of test transactions connected to wallets and forensics graphs that revealed a distinctive, essentially, fingerprint of the Lazarus group on the blockchain, a signature essentially previously associated with attacks on other crypto platforms. The Lazarus group are known for its ties to North Korea's military intelligence and has a high history of high-profile cyber attacks in the crypto space, including the theft of the $617 million in Axie Infinity hack of 2022 and the $100 million attack on Harmony Horizon. And according to reports, essentially, analysts and outlets like Bleeping Essential Computer and Bloomberg, the group has exploited anonymous nature, essentially, of crypto transactions to move large sums without leaving a trace, using techniques such as private key theft and cryptocurrency mixing services. This pattern was repeated in the Bybit case, where the attackers exploited vulnerabilities essentially access funds very quickly without essentially even Bybit realizing. The resolution of the case by Zach XPT, described by the X community as a legendary figure in his field, sparked a wave of reactions on social media. Users like essentially Jubilee and David Owens and others celebrated his work, with some speculated about the geopolitical implications, even joking about the potential extreme responses against North Korea. However, Zach XPT and other experts, such as Coinbase's essentially Connor Gorman, emphasized that the involvement of a state actor like Lazarus essentially complicates recovery efforts, as nations can operate outside the reach of traditional laws, which means that the Bybit hack situation of $1.4 to $1.5 billion, the chances of Bybit exchange ever seeing that Ethereum again is pretty much zero. Unfortunately, pretty much zero. The chances of essentially Bybit exchange ever seeing that Ethereum, that massive wallet of $1.46 billion worth of Ethereum, the chances of them seeing is pretty much zero. The Lazarus group used the exact same method they used before to compromise a lot more exchanges in the past and crypto projects. They've hacked DeFi essentially places, platforms as well. I mean, they've walked away with $617 million once, $100 million once, a few other $1 million once, and now this time being the biggest $1.46 billion in hacks, which is quite ridiculously high, which means that is one of the main reasons why the essentially crypto market is down in general. Adding on top of that, the stock market is also doing bad, which adds more volatility to the crypto space. Unfortunately, due to not still having rules and regulations inside the crypto space, everything is essentially affected by Bitcoin. And then now we have the Ethereum volatility situation of crypto might not be safe because of scenarios like this. And then the stock market is also down, which compiles more on top of the stress of the crypto space already within itself. Now, is this situation going to be compromising the entire crypto market space for months upon months? No. Max, this news will last until Monday, and then by Monday, the market will restore itself. That's just how the way the crypto market is. We go up for a few days, and then we go back down for a few days, and up for a few days, and back down for a few days. This is going to continue until the SEC and CFTC come up with some sort of rules and regulations so we can establish a framework to move forward. The faster we get regulations and the less volatile the crypto space will be, unless it's just going to be up, down, up, down, up, down with every news. But again, this Lazarus situation is not going to be affecting the market space for too long, max a few days. By Monday, we should be good to go. Tuesday, we should be good to go, to pretty much say. But in general, not good for Bybit at all. But a lot of people are blaming Bybit and so on. And then Bybit themselves are saying that the funds of essentially users are safe and nobody needs to worry about it. And it was their offline wallet that had no relevance to the funds that people are using on the exchange. Now, another thing is Safe Wallet, which some people might use. It's like Trust Wallet. Safe Wallet has also essentially stopped its withdrawals on their essentially wallet. So if you're somebody that's using Safe Wallet has decided to stop all withdrawals for the time being due to the Lazarus hack. Now, this could be a trend that might happen on a few crypto platforms or wallets or exchanges that might stop certain withdrawals just because of this crazy situation right now. It also turns out the hackers used Binance to get about 50,000 Ethereum to be able to pay off the fees for the hack. So they use Binance essentially exchange in some sort of a way to get 50,000 Ethereum to pay off the fees for the Bybit hack. It's just, the setup was quite crazy, to be fairly honest. Very crazy. Also, to add on top of that, Apple and Microsoft revealed basically that MacBook OS, if you're somebody that's using MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, or iMac in general, then you also might be vulnerable to crypto hacks. And then Apple is about to be releasing a new update. So if you do have a MacBook device, you might want to be looking out for new updates, because apparently hackers have created some sort of malware that's able to go into essentially your Mac devices in some sort of a way. It could be from you click on a random link, or it could be from certain websites or the DeFi space or something. And then what this malware does in your MacBook Pros or MacBook Airs or iMacs is, and this is something that everyone should be aware of if you're an Apple user, is essentially it goes through your folders. For example, it searches for your folders, looking for screenshots of your wallet key phrases, your seed phrases. Or if you're, for example, using a browser on your MacBook Pro or MacBook Air or even iMacs, and you're using some sort of a browser, Safari, for example, and you go to send yourself some money using the internet, using your browser Safari, and you paste in your wallet address, when you're essentially not paying attention, the malware inside of your Mac device will change the wallet address without you even realizing it. And then you're just sending money directly to these scammers, and you don't even know. So if you are somebody that has essentially Apple device, MacBook Pro, and it's not iPhones. So they said iPhones aren't compromised. It's just MacBook Pros, MacBook Airs, and iMacs, and then those Mac devices. So if you're somebody that uses Mac devices, look for any sort of updates that Apple might be heading your way, so this doesn't happen to your wallets. And that's only if you're somebody that uses essentially these devices for wallet transfers or to buy crypto or so on. I don't use essentially laptops or MacBooks and so on to do wallet transfers. I only use my phone, and I have one secure phone for that. But if you're somebody that does do that, you might want to pay attention just in case. So there's a lot of scamming and hacking going along, I'll be honest with you. And I did say this a very long time ago. I said, the further we go into a digital world, the further we go to a digital world, the more advanced hacking and scamming is going to become. I said this 2 years ago, to be fairly honest. I said the more we go into a digital world, hacking and scamming will become very advanced. So you always want to be paying attention, not connecting to public Wi-Fi ever, using your phone or your laptops or your MacBooks. Never connect to public Wi-Fi. That's the easiest way for you to get compromised and get any sort of malware on your device. And yeah, if you're using a Mac device, look out for the newest update from Apple so your devices don't become compromised. But always, in general, iPhones or Android users, look for the latest updates on your phone, because they most likely sometimes just security updates, and you need to have them just in case. Now, moving on essentially from the Bybit situation, the hacking situation. And I did say as well at the beginning of the live that might just build a case more for CBDCs. This whole Bybit situation might just build the case for wholesale CBDCs even more, because it's difficult, as I said, it's difficult to hack a centralized bank. It's very difficult to hack a centralized bank. The last time we had bank robberies in this world was pretty much when people were robbing banks using horses and guns. That was pretty much the last time we had bank robberies. In the world we live in, we don't really have bank robberies. Online robberies or even face-to-face robberies, it just doesn't happen anymore. So scenarios like this, when an exchange gets compromised for roughly about $1.46 billion, which is about $1.5 billion, it just builds the case for wholesale CBDC. So I wouldn't be surprised if in a few days government members come out, or the European Central Bank comes out and goes, this is why we need to have wholesale CBDCs and retail CBDCs, because the central bank will be in control and it will never get hacked. So you can even see that scenario coming out in a few days or within a week or so, because it's true. Centralized banks don't get compromised. It's just true. Exchanges get compromised all the time. They get threats, they get compromised. Even CEOs of exchanges, for example, get taken by essentially people, and then they get tormented to give over their wallets. It's happened before, where essentially a few Binance users went on vacation because they were invited to some sort of a crypto event, and the Binance workers or employees were essentially grabbed up and their wallets were stolen. And they're Binance workers. And there was another scenario where it was like essentially a wallet company where their devices got stolen as well. So a lot of scenarios can happen with exchanges. It could be face-to-face, it could be online, or with hot wallets or cold wallets. But centralized exchanges might essentially, in a few days, I wouldn't be surprised if centralized banks come out and say, this is why wholesale and retail CBDCs are better, because we will never get compromised. And it's true. Bank of England, Bank of America, Bank of the EU, essentially European Central Bank, or Bank of Russia, or essentially Bank of Saudi Arabia, Bank of Kuwait, Bank of Bahrain, all these centralized banks, the chances of them getting compromised is pretty much slim to none. But when it comes to exchanges, it's quite high. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the news comes out and spins it in a way, from the central bank governors that CBDCs are the way forward, because this will never happen to CBDCs. Now, Coinbase. The SEC is essentially dismissing cases now, even more. So I wrote to you essentially a few nights ago that the SEC, they're not waiting for essentially Paul Atkins to take his chairmanship inside the SEC. Mark, the acting chairman, is already starting to dismiss cases. The first case he dismissed was the Blockchain Association case. The second case he's dismissing is the Coinbase case. He's going to be dismissing the Kraken case and the Binance case and the Ripple case, which is incredible to see without a doubt. And it does show that they're moving incredibly quick. So here it is. Coinbase set to win the SEC dismissal in a major win. This is also coming from Brian Armstrong himself, the CEO of Coinbase. Coinbase announced essentially that the US Securities and Exchange Commission is set to dismiss its June 2023 lawsuit against the crypto exchange Coinbase, a move that analysts at HC essentially Wayne and Wright and call a major win for the company and the broader crypto community space. While final approval from the SEC's commission remains essentially pending, Coinbase's management is hopeful that the case will be cleared as early as next week. Analyst Mike, for example, said that from their reports, the SEC's lawsuit alleged that Coinbase offered essentially unregistered securities and operating essentially as an illegal exchange or a broker and a clearing company. But expectations for the dismissal would be essentially an ongoing headwind on Coinbase's stocks and provide a clearer signal for the SEC in shifting essentially their stance towards a more crypto-friendly stance compared to what Gary Gensler was. So today's announcement lifts a major regulatory overhang on shares. Analyst Mike, for example, and Dylan Scales, who wrote their reports, came out and said they also expect the decision to significantly reduce costly essentially legal fees and open doors for business expansions, particularly in essentially cryptos and essentially stakings. We would also expect the dismissal of Coinbase case to eventually lead to an expansion of companies in terms of staking businesses, which have been constrained since the enforcement actions was issued. And the analysts wrote that we also see the potential for an acceleration of new essentially crypto listings on Coinbase's platform, which would benefit subscription and services and revenues and transaction revenues respectively. Coinbase's stock opened around 1% higher essentially today on the morning, and in a muted essential move as the analysts expected a positive reaction from the news, but Coinbase's stocks quickly moved into the red as the news of the major Bybit hack situation happened. Again, this Bybit situation is going to have its effects on the crypto space probably by Monday. By Monday, we should be good inside the crypto space. By Monday, Tuesday, the market will be back up again. Now, moving on, essentially Coinbase's situation. I did say a while ago, that a lot of people are waiting for Paul Atkins to take his space. And, a lot of people for the SEC won't do anything until Paul Atkins gets, into the SEC, becomes the chairman of the SEC. And I said, Mark as the acting chairman, if anybody remembers, I said, Mark as the acting chairman, he can dismiss cases if he wants to. But there's a legal procedure that he needs to go through. It can't be overnight, but there's a legal procedure he needs to go through. But he can dismiss cases. I said this. And what you know, about a week after I said this, Blockchain Association case dismissed. Coinbase case is about to get dismissed. Ripple's next, Kraken's next, Binance next, pretty much. Now, unlock crypto gains is what we're going to talk about next, which is regarding the US senators. The US senators, just like the SEC, are working very hard to bring some crypto foundation to the United States. Now, they worked on the stablecoin bill, which everybody's heard about, the Genius Act, they're calling it now. But now they're trying to also work on another thing inside the crypto space, and that is staking. But staking also for the ETF space, which is going to make ETFs for altcoins even better for Wall Street or any other institution that wants to jump in, because they could buy an ETF and also earn rewards on it by staking their crypto ETFs. So here it is. A coalition of the US senators, led by Senator Cynthia Lummis, has pinned a compelling letter to the SEC advocating for staking functionalities in crypto ETFs. This isn't just a minor suggestion, it's a significant push from lawmakers who recognize the growing importance of digital assets and need to modernize the investment vehicles to reflect the evolving landscape. This letter has gathered support from both Republicans and Democratic senators on fostering responsible cryptocurrency investments. But why staking? Why now? Enhancing, for example, investor returns. Staking allows holders of certain cryptocurrencies to earn passive income by participating in the network's validation process. Integrating essentially this into crypto's ETFs would mean that investors could potentially earn returns on their ETF holdings, making these investment products even more attractive, boosting essentially ETF competitiveness. In the increasingly competitive world of investment products and adding essentially staking, it could give crypto ETFs a significant edge. It aligns them with an inherent yield generating capabilities of many underlying cryptocurrencies, something currently missing in traditional ETF structures that will simply track asset prices, reflecting crypto's core essentially functionalities. Staking is a fundamental aspect of many blockchain networks. By enabling staking in ETFs, the SEC would acknowledge and embracing the core mechanisms of a crypto ecosystem, rather than treating these assets solely on speculative commodities. Meeting investor demand. There's a growing demand from investors for sophisticated and yield-generating crypto products. Allowing staking into ETFs would cater to this demand and provide a regulated and accessible pathway for investors to participate in staking with a familiar ETF wrapper, essentially. The SEC's decision on staking for crypto ETFs will have far-reaching implications for the entire cryptocurrency market space. A favorable ruling could act as a powerful catalyst for the growth and mainstream adoption of cryptocurrencies in the corporate sector. Increased institutional investment, clarity, and approval from the SEC can encourage greater institutional investments in the crypto ETF space. Institutions are often drawn to regulated and essentially compliant investment products, and staking could enhance the appeal of crypto ETFs even further. Mainstream adoption. Making staking accessible through ETFs could lower the barrier to entry for retail investors who are essentially interested in earning yields on their crypto holdings, but find direct staking too complex or even risky. Market validation. The SEC's approval would represent a significant validation of the crypto industry and its underlying technologies. It could signal essentially a more accommodative, essentially regulatory environment and boost overall market confidence for the corporate space. Innovation and essentially product developments. A positive ruling could spark further innovation in the crypto ETF space and leading to essentially development of more sophisticated yield generating products tailored to different investor needs, and price essentially also appreciation, which is increased demand and institutional inflows into crypto ETFs could potentially drive up the prices of the underlying cryptocurrencies, benefiting the entire crypto ecosystem. The senator's letter is a crucial step in the ongoing dialogue between the policymakers and the crypto industry. The SEC's response will be closely watched by market participants. While there is no guarantee of immediate approval from the SEC, the increasing pressure from lawmakers and the essentially growing maturity of the crypto market space suggests that the SEC may need to reconsider its stance on staking and crypto ETFs. For investors, this development signals a potentially exciting essentially future ahead of themselves, where the crypto ETFs could essentially offer not only price exposure, but also yield generating through staking. Keeping an eye on regulatory updates and SEC announcements is pretty much going to be Wall Street's top priority moving forward. This integration of staking into crypto ETFs could mark a significant evolution in how investors access and benefit the world of digital assets, potentially unlocking new avenues for digital assets growth and investor returns. Okay, the SEC was supposed to offer essentially staking capabilities a while ago, but Gary Gensler didn't like the idea of staking when it came to ETFs. One of the main reasons that, as I said previously, Ethereum ETFs didn't do too well was because they had to take away Ethereum staking capabilities, which made Ethereum not that much of an appealing asset to high-profile investors. That is why the Bitcoin ETF did tremendously well, and the Ethereum ETF didn't do much. And it wasn't because altcoins won't do much and essentially Bitcoin only does the best. No, it's because Bitcoin brought something to the table, and that was limited supply. Ethereum could have brought staking capabilities to the table, but Gary Gensler said essentially that's what makes it a security. And in reality, it doesn't. But to everything, the Gary Gensler meant security, to be fairly honest. But offering staking brings in a lot more capital from major players around the world once a lot of altcoins essentially gets introduced to the world in terms of ETF space. Now, we're also going to go through on tonight's live, not right now, but a little bit later on, we're going to go through a report that came out from JP Morgan. JP Morgan's analyst, to be more exact, Nicholas came out from JP Morgan, which we're going to go a little bit later on tonight's live, but he talked about how Bitcoin and Ethereum, in terms of an ETF, are slowly starting to die out. Not my words in any sort of a way, just want to point this out. This is the words from essentially Nicholas, who is a analyst from JP Morgan. And he came out and essentially said in the most simplest way that investors want more diversity and they're tired of only having the availability to purchase Bitcoin ETFs and Ethereum ETFs. And they're not looking appealing to them anymore. And they want altcoin ETFs to enter the cryptos, to enter essentially the traditional market space even more now. They want essentially XRP ETFs or XLM ETFs or H4 ETFs or Solana ETFs or whatever ETFs that are being filed in. But apparently Wall Street and the corporate sector are just, trying to hold off on the whole Bitcoin purchasing ETF stage and the Ethereum buying stage. And they just want the, access to the entire crypto space, not just to those two projects, which is an interesting one to see, I'll be honest. Now, before we go through the next news, which is regarding Trump, let's go inside the comment section first, and then we go straight to the Trump news and regarding tariffs. So, as I said previously, this is live, which means if you do have any questions, put it down inside the comment section. We're more than happy to answer the questions you may have. So let's go inside the comment section first. Let's see where we were at. We were at here. Miles, was the fear of Bybit or something else of the market also took a downturn? It wasn't just a Bybit situation. The stock market wasn't doing, essentially any sort of movements today, and Bitcoin tends to follow the stock market, even though Bitcoin is being, given the category of a risk-off asset or goes against inflation and microeconomic events. And in reality, Bitcoin doesn't do any of those things. And that's just pure facts. Because it's got to a stage where I'm tired of, not you, just want to point this out, not you, Funky Brother, in any sort of way, or your question. I love when people put questions. But what I am tired of is the Bitcoin maxis that keep on lying to people, is what I was trying to say, not to your question or anyone's question or to you. But what I am tired of essentially when I go onto X, for example, and I just see these Bitcoin maxis lying to these people and telling people, Bitcoin is a risk-off asset and, it goes against inflation and it doesn't get volatile in macroeconomic events. But in reality, Bitcoin gets affected by every macroeconomic event. Bitcoin gets very volatile when the stock market gets volatile. Any effect that happens on the market space, on the stock market space, Bitcoin gets affected by 100%. Any wars that happen, Bitcoin gets affected. Any macroeconomic events, Bitcoin gets affected. So this lie that keeps on is being said, because it's got to a stage where I just need to say something now. Because people are still lying to people online, where they're telling people on X, for example, and you have people like Cardone coming out, Grant Cardone, for example, coming out and lying to people, or even the Bitcoin maxis, just back-to-back lies. The lies need to stop. Bitcoin is not the savior for the entire crypto space. Unfortunately, it's an asset with a limited supply that has zero utility. Let's just be honest with ourselves for once inside the crypto space, okay? Because it's got to a stage where somebody needs to stand up and tell the truth. And the truth is, it's utter trash, okay? Bitcoin has a limited supply, and that's all it brings to the table. It has zero utility. It's not a risk-off asset because it doesn't react like a risk-off asset. Gold is a risk-off asset where it reacts in a positive way when the market stage becomes volatile. Or even the dollars. The dollars is even more of a safe haven asset than essentially Bitcoin is. And I'll put it to you very clearly. If any country goes into war right now, the dollar gets strengthened. The US dollars, the same US dollars, because somebody needs to say it, okay? The same US dollars that people hate so much, that people say it has no backings, and all that could be true. It has no backings. It's fiat money is, trash. It's useless. US dollars, if you go and check the stats, any country that goes into war, for example, US dollars becomes strengthened. You know why? Because it's a safe haven. Gold becomes strengthened. You know why? Because it's a risk-off asset. But Bitcoin, which everybody sees as going against, it's the new gold, it's better than the US dollars. Bitcoin reacts in the most utter trash way when there's any sort of microeconomic events in the world. Even the US dollars is a safe haven in scenarios like this, and Bitcoin isn't. So somebody has to say, people need to stop lying to people about Bitcoin as if it's some, top of the range asset. Nothing compares to it, not gold, not nothing. Gold doesn't compare to it. Silver doesn't compare to it. Nothing compares to Bitcoin. It's just the best. It isn't. The reality of it is, it isn't. There are other assets out there that are better than Bitcoin by a mile. They have more utility. They're more secure. They're faster. They're cheaper. They're easier to build on. So, and the only reason the altcoins essentially get so affected by macroeconomic events as well is because we don't have regulations in place. So that's the reason why altcoins get affected too much, because there's no regulations in place. When regulations are in place, utility can start. And that's when you see the volatile stage of some crypto assets coming to an end. But people need to stop lying to people online about Bitcoin as if it's some savior inside the space, when in reality, it isn't, okay? If any country goes into war, Bitcoin, safe haven. The US dollars, the US dollars, which everybody hates, for example, and calls it trash, calls it toilet paper money. Even the US dollars becomes a safe haven during wars, and Bitcoin crumbles. Where in fact, Bitcoin is supposed to be known as the digital gold, the risk-off asset, the asset you should have to go against everything in the world in terms of macroeconomic events. Even the US dollars becomes a safe haven and so on and also like that. So people need to stop lying as if Bitcoin is some savior for the crypto space. Just for now, yes, the market follows Bitcoin. You know why? Because we don't have regulations. Once the regulations comes through, there's not going to be no more following Bitcoins once the regulations comes through. Once the banks start adapting cryptocurrencies into their payment systems, once the institutions start using cryptocurrencies in their payment systems, all those contracts that were signed, years ago with all these essentially AVAX signed contracts, Ripple signed contracts, Stellar signed contracts, HBAR signed contracts. There's so many crypto projects out there that signed major contracts and essentially went into massive development modes, where once the regulations drop in, we can go into utility and those crypto projects will stop following Bitcoin. But people genuinely need to stop lying to people online as if Bitcoin is some savior. It's the digital gold. It's the risk-off asset. And in reality, it crumbles so quick, it's unreal. It's not a digital gold because it doesn't react like gold. It's not a risk-off asset because it doesn't react like a risk-off asset. And any micro event that happens in the world, including wars, it's the first asset to crumble. But even the US dollars, which is utter trash, which is like toilet paper to some people, which has no backings, even the US dollars becomes a safe haven. And Bitcoin doesn't. But people would say, oh, Bitcoin is the one to go for, it's the safe haven asset, it's the risk-off asset, it's the digital gold. And all those titles are given to Bitcoin, and it doesn't deserve any one of them. Bitcoin doesn't deserve the title of digital gold. It doesn't deserve the title of risk-off asset. It doesn't deserve the title of safe haven. It just doesn't, because those are facts. You know why they say the truth hurts? This is why they say nobody likes hearing the truth, because it hurts. So I'm sorry, Bitcoin maxis, you need to stop lying to people, okay? Because it's none of those types. It doesn't deserve any of those categories at all. Because it's embarrassing that even the US dollars, that's overprinted, way too much printing has been happening on the US dollars. Even that becomes a safe haven. Even that becomes strengthened. And Bitcoin doesn't. It crumbles in the first event of a macroeconomic event. I'm not talking about the Bybit situation in any sort of a way. The Bybit situation affects the entire crypto space. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about scenarios of macroeconomic events in terms of a war, for example, even happening. It's the first asset to crumble. But it's the number one asset when you ask people, like Cardone, for example, Grant Cardone, which is the best asset? Grant Cardone will be like, oh, Bitcoin is the best asset. It's the best for inflation. It's the best for macroeconomic events. It's the best, it's the digital gold. It's a risk-off asset. And it's none of those things. The reality of it is, it's none of those things at all. So I'm sorry, but I didn't mean to crush anyone's Bitcoin dreams out there, but it's just not that good of an asset. The only thing it brings to the table is limited supply. And once that gig is up, that's it. That's the only thing it brings to the table, limited supply. Once that gig is up, it's finished. And that could be who knows when. That could be a decade from now, or it could be 2 decades from now when it's finished, but who knows when. But it's the only thing it brings to the table is a limited supply. It doesn't bring the category of risk off or safe haven or digital gold. None of those titles or categories belong to that essentially asset, because it doesn't react like any of those categories. So I'm sorry to be the person to crush people's Bitcoin dreams, but somebody had to say it, because the Bitcoin maxis are hyping up too much. They're hyping up an asset that doesn't deserve the title it's giving them. It doesn't deserve the awards that they're trying to give Bitcoin to. It just doesn't deserve any of them. It's a limited supply token, full stop, with zero utility, zero use cases. It can't do payments because nobody's going to wait 2 hours for a payment to be transferred. It's just stupid. So somebody had to say it. It's not safe haven. It's not digital gold. It's not a risk-off asset. And it's terrible to be used for payments. It's also terrible to be building on. So once again, I am sorry to crush anyone's Bitcoin dreams out there, but it is utter trash. And time will tell. I had to say it. I got to a stage where I've kept my mouth shut for the longest time when it came to Bitcoin, but I just had to say it. I've kept my mouth shut for the longest time when it came to Bitcoin, and people will say, oh, Bitcoin is a risk-off asset. And I'll go, yeah. Or Bitcoin is a safe haven. I'll just go, yeah. Or this and that. Bitcoin is digital gold. Yeah. But in reality, it's none of those things. It just isn't. It never was. Who knows? Maybe one day, though, essentially Bitcoin will earn those categories. But right now, it doesn't. It does not earn any of those titles. So once again, I am sorry to crush anyone's Bitcoin dreams out there, but there are so many better projects out there that are faster, cheaper, better to build on. And once the regulations drop, you will see the crypto market space thrive. Once the regulations drop, with the CFTC and the SEC coming together after a decade to create regulations, once the regulations drop, you will see the crypto space thrive. In terms of altcoins, all those contracts from a long time ago will come into place. All the contracts that Ripple, Stellar, Luminous, HBAR, Cardano, AVAX, all these contracts that essentially near project, these altcoins signed a long time ago. These contracts they signed with major essentially institutions out there. They've been working on it for years, developing. Once the regulations drop, you'll see the utility start thriving. You see utility start kicking up. The more we go into utility, the less essentially Bitcoin will become irrelevant. The more we go into utility, the less essentially the Bitcoin will become completely irrelevant, because it has nothing to offer except limited supply. And it reacts the worst way to any sort of events in the world. Any events, Bitcoin reacts badly. The only way Bitcoin reacts good if an ETF news comes out. Bitcoin reacts good. A war comes out, Bitcoin crumbles. Macroeconomic events happen, Bitcoin crumbles. Any event that happens around the world, Bitcoin crumbles, except if it's Bitcoin news and it's Bitcoin ETF, Bitcoin goes up. But then again, people give it the title of safe haven, digital gold, risk-off asset, but it's none of those things, because it shouldn't crumble in any sort of those events of wars or macroeconomic events, but it does. So I had to say it, because it's just got to a stage. Somebody need to stand up and just say, I'm sorry, but it's just not all that. It just isn't at all. And somebody needs to stop the lying inside the crypto space. And I thought, you know what? Let me be the first one to say, it's not that great of an asset. The only thing it brings to the table is limited supply, which, by the way, BlackRock made an advert about it and said, we can even increase essentially, even BlackRock made an advert about Bitcoin a while ago, which most people shouldn't have forgotten about, where they even stated, we don't know if you can promise the limited supply. If Bitcoin can't keep its limited supply somewhere down the road, forget about it. Because that's the only thing it has, which is limited supply. And BlackRock stating we can't promise our investors that Bitcoin will keep its limited supply is the interesting part. And that's the only thing it brings to the table, because it's slow, expensive, and not that great to build on. Many have tried and many have failed. And the only thing it has is limited supply. And if that goes away, then forget about it. It'll become another meme coin. So I'm sorry, but somebody had to say it's not that much of a great asset in any sort of ways. And the only reason why it does so well right now is because it's the only asset that has full approval in terms of an ETF. But even the purchases are slowing down. Even the ETF essentially purchases for Bitcoin are slowing down. That's according to JP Morgan's analyst that came out today. That even the Bitcoin essentially purchases for ETFs are slowing down. That investors want more diversity. They want to move away from Bitcoin ETFs. But yeah, somebody had to say it. and it's not a great asset in any sort of a way at all. So people, please stop lying to people online in the crypto space about Bitcoin as if it's some savior. And in reality of it is, it's not. And the only reason it's doing good is because we don't have regulations yet for the altcoin space. The regulations dropped by the SEC and CFTC and Congress and senators for essentially the rest of the crypto space. You will see the difference in movement, where utility gets factored in and not limited supply, because that's the only thing the Bitcoin people can argue with. Every time you try to have a debate with a Bitcoin person, Bitcoin maxi, they'll say, oh, well, we have 21 million tokens, as if that means anything. Maybe now. What about later on, when utility comes in, when payments are happening, when things need to be secure and upgraded and updated? Because we're going also into computing. We're going into quantum, essentially, computing. Who's going to maintain the Bitcoin network so it doesn't get compromised from quantum computing? Because I tell you who's going to essentially make sure the XRP ledger doesn't get compromised from quantum computing. Ripple. I'll also tell you that AVAX will make sure their chain doesn't get essentially compromised from quantum computing. A lot of crypto projects out there. The HBAR Foundation will make sure HBAR will never get compromised from quantum computing, because they'll look after their chains. So that's when the factor of, oh, maybe it's not a bad idea there's a company behind the chain is in play. Because Ripple will make sure XRP Ledger will never get compromised from quantum computing. Same goes with AVAX. Same goes with Cardano. Same goes with HBAR. Same goes with Stellar Luminous. They will always make sure their chains are always the highest security. They'll maintain it to the highest security, so nothing like that ever happens. But when it comes to Bitcoin, who's going to protect it? When quantum computing comes advanced, who's going to protect it? The people that are maintaining the Bitcoin chain, random people around the world? Yeah, good luck with that one. There's a lot of things wrong with it, and nobody wants to say it because it's just this taboo that you're supposed to only say positive things about Bitcoin inside the crypto space. And the reality of it is, let's just stop pretending. Just genuinely stop pretending that it's just some great asset. No, in reality of it is, as time progresses, it's going to become a dinosaur in the space. It just is. So it doesn't deserve the titles. It's not going to be maintained properly in a quantum computing world. And probably the first chain to get compromised. There's a lot of things wrong with it. And the only thing it has is limited supply. If that goes away, forget about it. Imagine Bitcoin with the limited supply increasing. That's it for Bitcoin, pretty much. And that's what BlackRock stated, where they can't promise their clients that Bitcoin supply will stay the same forever. BlackRock said, we can't promise that Bitcoin supply will stay the same forever. To their clients, they said. They said on the advert as well. So if that goes away for Bitcoin, limited supply goes away of 21 million tokens, then forget about it. And that was a while ago they said that. A lot of issues wrong with Bitcoin. But somebody had to say it, because I'm just tired of watching these posts, all these SpaceX essentially lives that people are doing, talking about Bitcoin on SpaceX, essentially on X Spaces, for example. They're talking about Bitcoin as if some savior. In reality, it isn't. It just isn't. Even Elon Musk took a hit at Bitcoin essentially and said, that factory in China that went down took 35% of the hash power of Bitcoin mining. So even Elon Musk has given you some pointers that Bitcoin isn't the chosen one. It never was. It was the test one. It was to see how the world will react in that scenario. The only projects you should be focusing on is XRP, XLM, XDC, financial projects. And obviously, AI projects, Web3 projects, data projects, and so on. But the main core is financial projects, and it just isn't Bitcoin. But yeah, I'm sorry to crush anyone's Bitcoin dreams out there. It just isn't the chosen one. Elon Musk has given hints that it's not the chosen one either. BlackRock has given you hints that the limited supply won't stay the same forever. It's not a risk-off asset. It's not a safe haven. The US dollars becomes a safe haven better than essentially Bitcoin does. It's not a digital gold because it doesn't react like gold in times of war. It just isn't what people presume it is. And somebody needs to take a stance. And I thought, you know what? Let me be that person to take a stance and tell people the truth. Because for the longest time, I've just been keeping my mouth shut. And because we got to play by this taboo rule that Bitcoin, you can't say anything bad about it because you just can't. But in fact, we live in a world where we pretend to have freedom of speech. So I'm going to say what I want, and it's not the chosen one by a mile. And again, this wasn't based on your question in any sort of a way, Funky, but I just wanted to get something out there. Now, going to your question. As I said before, Miles, with cryptos, one step forward and two steps back. Yes, it is. This bull run looks very different. Yes, it does. Hello, Miles. Johnny Bravo, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? And I'm guessing people will agree with me on that matter. Does everybody agree with me of what I just said about Bitcoin? Are you tired of people lying to you about Bitcoin? If you agree, put a comment inside the comment section right now that you agree with me that it's not what people are saying is digital gold or safe haven or essentially a risk-off asset and so on. If you agree with all those things, put a fire emoji, put something so I know that you agree with me. If you go against me, tell me why. This one looks very, yes, it does. David, good to see you. How you doing? Let's see where we were at. We were at here. Richard, good, Stormy, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Richard, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Hello, Miles, hope you're better. T, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Karen, good to see you. How you doing? Okay, we were here actually, I think. Any updates on the XRP case when it could be over by March 10th? The XRP case is a very interesting one because it needs to, the penalty is the issue of the XRP case. So they have to pay the penalty, or the penalty needs to be reduced or completely dismissed and no penalty whatsoever is where they're standing at right now. But the case is definitely going to be dismissed. I said quarter one to quarter two is definitely going to get dismissed. Good morning, Miles and CMF. Hope you're feeling better, Miles. Good to see you as well, Ghostman. How you doing? I'm feeling a lot better. I think it's my back pain that made me say all those things, but they were true. Everything I said was completely true. I think the back pain is putting pressure on me to say things because I was in a little bit of pain. So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to say it as how it is. Hi, Miles, and all CMF. I hope everybody is well. Adi, good to see you as well. How you doing? Hi from Malaysia. Shakira, good to see you as well. How you doing? Hi, Miles. How you doing? Today I'm doing great, Michael. Good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? BlackRock makes the SEC finalize the Coinbase case first, and now Ethereum ETFs are up for staking. We all know that Ethereum is a political tool. Never had congressmen writing letters to the SEC. True facts. Hello, Miles and CMF. I hope that all you had a good day. Scott, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Also, in your opinion, inside the comment section, right now, everyone, inside the comment section, which asset in your eyes, based on your own research, or based on essentially what you think is the chosen asset? Based on what you think, which is the chosen asset? Which is the asset that's going to propel the most inside this digital space under rules and regulations and utility? Which crypto project do you think is going to do the best under regulations and under utility? So under regulations and under essential utility, which crypto project do you think is going to do the best lifetime wise? Put it down inside the comment section right now. Let's see what everyone says. You can say more than one or two projects. You don't have to say one project. So you can say a few projects if you want to. What do you think is the chosen ones? Hello, Miles and CMF. I hope that all you had a good day. Scott, I had a great day. How you doing? Hello, Miles. Up and down or sideways? Up, down or sideways? Right now, because of Bybit, down, sideways, up, I would say in a few days. Well, I love my CMF. Let's go, Scott. And Funky Brother, thank you for the update on that. But yeah, it's true. That's why you don't have 1 million followers, Miles, because you don't lie. That's why you don't have 1 million followers, Miles, because you don't lie. It's true. I don't lie. I don't like lying. I want to tell the truth. And I felt good saying it. Let's go, Ronnie. And just tell people what they want to hear. Facts. Let's go, Ronnie. We need a tweet for the record. BTC maxis need to hear it and then live it, or read it and then live it. Let's go. Come on. Come on. Is this Q on? There's only one savior in the crypto space, and it's XRP. Let's go, JP. Yes. Let's go, Kim. 100% agree. Let's go, Bill XRP. JP, let's go. Good day, Miles. How's your back doing? Good, Mike. Good to see you. So how you doing? How you been? 100%, brother. Miles, I'm glad you're getting it off your chest. Maybe more people will listen to you and know that you're making sense. Let's go, Funky brother. I agree with the facts. It just happened that you spoke the facts. Let's go. Come on. Miles, maybe you need to come off your tablets. You need to come off your tablets. You always speak facts, Miles. Let's go, Shelly. XRP, let's go, Ghostman. XRP Maxi here. Let's go, Crypto Kaku. Dennis, XRP. Johnny Bravo says, Miles, I think it's XDC and XRP. Let's go, Johnny Bravo. XO says XRP. Shelly says XRP once we have regulations and adoption. Correct. Pierce says XRP. Ghost Burner says Camel token. Freedom Feather says XRP all the way. Stormy says XRP, XDC, XLM, and Ondo. Let's go, Stormy. Commenter says XRP. Funky Brother says, Miles, you know it's XRP that's chosen from the time it was created. Facts. Mike says XRP, XLM, HBOL. Let's go, Mike. Basing my answer on facts and contracts, financial projects are not only leading, but the chosen ones. Facts. Let's go, come on. Miles, why do you think that XRP has been pressed down for years? Because XRP wanted to change something inside the financial sector. Now, if you want to enter in certain categories, there will always be people who are against you. I'll give you an example. It's a great question as well. So, Funky Brother has said, Miles, why do you think that XRP has essentially always been pressed down for years? They've been trying to hold XRP back. Because XRP is tried to change and is and will 100%, and it's going to about when the regulations drop in and utility drops in, but it's trying to change something forever, the financial sector, and it's not easy trying to do certain things. Some people will object to it, some people don't like it. I'll give you a very simple example. For example, if you want to change something inside the tech world, so let's say, for example, you are a tech company and you're coming up and you're a startup company, and then you start building yourself a name, you start getting some seed rounding money inside of your company, you start going further higher up and higher and up. Companies like Google will pretty much come along essentially and either try to suppress you within their own essentially Google search, and it's happened before, which is why they got sued and had to pay out. But companies like Google will either try to, and it's not just Google, Microsoft could do this through Bing search and Yahoo search and so on. But what they'll do is either try to silence your voice. If that doesn't work, they'll try to buy you out. And if that doesn't work, they'll try to put you out of business. And this is what tech firms have to go through sometimes. And it's not all tech firms, but it's tech firms that are going to be revolutionizing the world in some sort of a way, where the bigger companies want a piece of the pie. It's just how it works. The bigger companies always want a piece of the pie. Now, in Ripple's case, they're about to be changing the financial world. So which means politicians, prime ministers, presidents, bank governors, central banks, and so on, they want a piece of pie. They want, a part of this revolutionary tech and so on. So it's the procedure of jumping through hoops. If you want to introduce a company to the world that isn't going to bring much change and is just going to be waddling along, then they don't care that much. The tech companies don't care if it's not, if it's tech related. The banks wouldn't care if it's bank related and so on, because they don't care. For example, Revolut Bank. Everybody's heard of Revolut Bank or Monzo Bank or Starling Bank. Banks like this will come along all day long, and the banks don't care. Like Lloyds Bank doesn't care about them. HSBC Bank doesn't care about them. Santander doesn't care about them. JP Morgan doesn't care about, Revolut Bank or essentially Monzo Bank or so on, because they're nothing to them. They're not bringing any sort of innovation into this play. They're just another bank. But when you have companies that are trying to bring some sort of major change, for example, if it's a tech company, they're going to bring some major change, then you have companies like Google who would try to batter them in some sort of way through their political power. It could be through their lawyers. It could be some sort of a way. They just want a piece of the pie. And I'm saying Ripple, and I'm saying Google wants a piece of pie. Ripple, it's just a scenario I'm giving you. It's just how it works inside the tech world. So a company like Ripple is trying to change the financial sector. They have to jump through hoops. They have to get the political play right. Because if you want to be a major company out there and try to bring some major change in any sort of category, you need to be one of the key players in that category. You need to go from here to here and become one of the king players in that category. Google is a king player in the tech world. So is Microsoft and so on. So is Meta, where they have final voices when it comes to the tech world. And when you're trying to go into the banking world and you're trying to bring major change, not just to the United States market space, but to the entire world, you're trying to bring major change. You're going to have to jump through a lot of hoops, and a lot of people might not like you. A lot of people might not want to change things of how they are. For example, like going into a CBDC world, a lot of people would lose their jobs in the banking world. Banks wouldn't be able to make the fees they make from you. For example, if you take your money to the bank, let's just say you take your paycheck to the bank. The bank would use your money to trade on. Now, we live in a CBDC world, for example. Let's just say if we live in a CBDC world, the bank can't trade on your CBDC money, but they can trade on your fiat, which is your pounds, euros, dollars, or whatever. So the structure of a bank is going to be completely changed when it goes into a CBDC world. For example, Russian banks. A lot of Russian banks are about to go out of business because they're going to essentially go into a CBDC ruble for Russia. And a lot of banks said, we can't make money. We can't make money the way we used to from being a bank, which was trading on people's money, getting the fees in or whatever. We can't do that anymore in a CBDC world. So a lot of banks in Russia are about to go under. So companies like Ripple, they're not just coming in to, waddle along. They're coming in to revolutionize the whole world. So you're going to get people, it could be politicians, it could be bank governors, it could be bank CEOs, bank CFOs, using their political powers to not let you bring change, because they like the way the things are set up. They like the way how they're making money. And if you come in and try to change things around, they might lose that profit margin they were making. So there's many reasons why they try to hold back essentially Ripple. There's many reasons, but that's just how it works. If you're trying to come in and change anything, if you're trying to come in and change something in the automotive industry, the biggest players inside the automotive industry would use their political power to suppress you and push you back down. If you don't go away and you still continue growing, they'll try to buy you out. Same thing will happen to you if you're inside the tech world. Same thing will happen to you if you're inside of essentially the finance world that Ripple is trying to break through. So because there are already key players in every category. In the real estate space, there's already key players. Essentially, in the automotive industry, there's key players. Inside the tech world, there are key players. Inside the banking world, there are key players. So there's already players set up that can pretty much control the entire show. If you're trying to come in and change everything around, some people might not like that. So that's why Ripple had to jump through a lot of hoops. And it could even be said that a lot of CFOs, CEOs, and so on use their political powers to go against companies like Ripple. Senator Elizabeth Warren, for example, doesn't hate Ripple because one day Senator Elizabeth Warren decided to wake up and just hate on Ripple for no apparent reason. There's somebody behind Senator Elizabeth Warren. It could be one of her biggest donors, for example, or a donor that's connected to another donor that's telling Senator Elizabeth Warren to go after companies like Ripple and don't let them grow, for example. Try to connect the lines between Senator Elizabeth Warren to the FDIC, or Senator Elizabeth Warren telling Gary Gensler what to say in terms of questions and answers in Congress setups. So Senator Elizabeth Warren didn't wake up one day and decide to, just go against Ripple and tell Gary Gensler to sue it into the ground. No, somebody's telling Senator Elizabeth Warren to do this. It could be a CFO of a bank, it could be a COO, it could be whatever. It could be some major player in the banking space. Somebody's telling them what to do. Because politicians are just players on a chessboard that just get moved about. They're the soldiers on a chessboard. Politicians are like soldiers on a chessboard. They just get moved about by the bigger players. So when you're trying to come in and change something and revolutionize something major and change everything around, some people might not like that. Some people will try to stand in front of your way. Some people will use their political powers to try to sabotage you, try to bring you down. There's a lot of scenarios at play. And again, this happens in every industry. It happens in every category. The automotive industry, the real estate industry, the tech industry, the essentially banking industry. Every industry has its top players. And sometimes the top players might not want to go along with your plans and they'll just try to sabotage you. But in Ripple's case, Ripple started to go around and essentially play in other fields. Ripple decided to, okay, because we're getting shut out of the American market space, they went to Singapore. Singapore, you know what? They didn't mind the idea. They gave Ripple a license through their Singaporean Monetary Authority. Ripple ended up going to Japan. They didn't mind the idea either. They said, we don't mind it if you change things around because it brings a lot of positivity. So you can see where greed is more and less, depending on countries. But that's just how it is. If you're trying to come in and build a company that's just another company out there, nobody cares about you. If you're trying to create, for example, like Revolut Bank, JP Morgan doesn't care about you. You're just Revolut Bank, just another bank out there. But if you're coming in, try to change the entire financial system of what even JP Morgan uses, now you're a player trying to go head to head with them. They might not like your setup. They might not like the way you're running things, because they'll see 10 years ahead or 5 years ahead, they're going to end up using your system in their banks. So they might not like that. As I said, Russian banks are about to go under because they can't use people's money the way they used to in the traditional financial system, because in the CBDC world, they can't trade on your money. So they're losing a lot of fees in that sense. So there's many reasons why they tried to pull back Ripple, but it wasn't because Senator Elizabeth Warren hated Ripple. It wasn't because Gary Gensler hated Ripple. It wasn't because the FDIC hated Ripple. It was people behind those organizations, behind those politicians, that are key players inside the banking world, that use their political powers to make things happen and to sabotage their movements. And that's just how it is inside the corporate sector in general. There are articles and there are lawsuits. For example, Google paid a massive fine because the EU, for example, found out that Google was sabotaging startup companies that were trying to rival them. There were startup companies that were trying to rival Google, and Google sabotaged them on search engines, on SEOs. Their platforms wouldn't come up on the search engine. It would be on page 22, for example, when in reality it should be on page 1. But Google was playing around with their algorithm. There are lawsuits in place. That's, Meta's been sued because of that as well. Facebook has been sued before because they were sabotaging essentially tech firms. It's either they sabotage you, and if you don't go away, they'll try to buy you out. And if you still don't go away, it's because you learned how to play the game properly. And what I mean by that is Ripple learned how to play the game properly, where Ripple started donating to politicians when the elections were going on. With Coinbase, Ripple and Coinbase came together and donated roughly $156 million for essentially the politicians that were elected, just roughly at the beginning of the year, essentially, with the Republican Party having a clean sweep. And they're all pro-crypto. That was because of Coinbase and Ripple coming together and donating essentially to the campaigns of these Republican politicians. Another reason why we had a clean sweep of Republican politicians. Not even that, Ripple has played the game so well and learned the game so well, and so has Coinbase, that they've even put aside $56 million for the next group of politicians in the midterms that's going to be coming up, essentially. In 2020, even for 2026, Ripple has put more money, $56 million aside, to put towards politicians for 2026, because now they learned the game. You want to control how the world spins? You got to control the people who are the mouthpieces for the world. And that's the politicians. So Ripple learned how to play the game. They tried to sabotage Ripple through their political powers. It didn't work. Ripple just ended up moving country and organizing and establishing themselves somewhere else. And then Ripple learned, and then essentially they learned that Ripple won't go away, that Ripple is here to stay. They're here to change the financial system. And Ripple learned how to play the game, which was politics. I said this 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I said if Ripple wants to do what it wants to do and change everything around them, they need to get involved in politics. It's the key path. Politics leads to everything. It's just how the world spins. You want to get things done, politicians are the ones to do it for you. Lawyers will take you so far, but politicians will get the job done. Lawyers, it could take 5 years to do a case, 6 years for you to do a case, 7 years, 10 years, you could be in case battles. But if you have a politician in your pocket, depending on how high level they are, that politician could do what your lawyer was going to do in 10 years in the space of 6 to 1 year, in the space of 6 months to 1 year. That's what politicians can do. By passing laws in, essentially by passing laws in favor of you, by sabotaging your competitors, by brainwashing the people and saying this company is bad, this company is good, for example, is what politicians do. Politicians are very good at lying. They're very good at sabotaging. Senator Elizabeth Warren and Nancy Pelosi will go on live TV and say Elon Musk is bad because he's a billionaire and all billionaires are bad. even though Elon Musk is changing America for the better, trying to review corruption. And then you have Senator Elizabeth Warren and Nancy Pelosi who are playing angels in this scenario. And in reality, they are where they are, and their portfolios are where they are because they have billion-dollar donors behind them. So the billionaires behind Nancy Pelosi and Senator Elizabeth Warren, that's okay. But Elon Musk being a billionaire, that's bad. And people will eat that up. Because the majority of people in this world are morons. Are genuinely morons. The world is the way it is because we have too many morons in this world. Let's just be, truthful about it. The world is the way it is because we have too many morons in this world. Otherwise, it wouldn't be like this. Which is crazy to say, but animals sometimes are more intelligent than people. Genuinely. Because animals don't let the dumbest one lead the pack. But when it comes to humans, we let the dumbest one lead the pack. So let that one sink in. Animals don't let the dumbest one lead the pack. But when it comes to humans, it's completely different. We let the dumbest one lead the pack. So it's just a lot of political play. So reasons of why Ripple has been held back for such a long time is because they weren't coming in as another minuscule company. They were coming in to change the world as we know it. And some key players, banks, bank governors, CFOs, CEOs, and so on, they might not like that. And they try to use their political powers to sabotage. They try to do it through Elizabeth Warren. They try to do it through Gary Gensler. They try to do it for the FDIC. They try to do it for the OCC, the CFPB. All these governmental organizations were going against Ripple in some sort of a way. Gary Gensler was suing Ripple. Elizabeth Warren was telling Gary Gensler the answers and questions she was going to ask him in front of Congress when Gary Gensler wasn't doing his job and suing Ripple for no apparent reason. The FDIC was telling banks in America not to work with blockchain companies. And take a guess which blockchain company wants to work with banks in America? Ripple. You have the CFPB doing the exact same thing in the past, essentially telling banks not to work with blockchain companies. Guess again, who wants to work with blockchain, essentially with banks in the United States as a blockchain company? Ripple, CFPB, OCC, FDIC, Gary Gensler, Senator Elizabeth Warren, they all, somebody was telling them what to do. And the people that are behind them were the people that are running the show in the banking space. Because they didn't want Ripple to come in and change their systems forever. Because they saw Ripple as a threat, a big threat that isn't about to go away. And especially now, they're definitely not going away because Ripple learned how to play politics, which means they're never going away now. And that Ripple is staying where it is. And in fact, it's going to get bigger over time. And their control is going to get bigger in the political space due to the amount of investments they're putting towards politicians by campaigning for in terms of donation campaigns. Honestly, one of the reasons why we had a clean sweep of Republicans, complete clean sweep of Republicans, one of the reasons is because of Coinbase and Ripple. The amount of millions and millions and millions of dollars they poured into their pockets, into the donation campaigns, to get them more TV ads, to put their face everywhere, to put their face in front of people, no matter what. And then they've put aside, Ripple has put aside another $56 million for 2026 politicians in America. Ripple has put aside, they've put aside $56 million for 2026 politicians because Ripple has learned how to play the game of politics now, which is something I said about 2.5 years ago, that they should learn how to play politics. If you want to survive in this world and you want to do something major, politicians, you need to have them in your back pocket. You need to have politicians in your back pocket. That's just how the world spins. Because as I said, your lawyer will get the job done in 10 years. A politician can get the job done for you in 6 months to a year. Just by passing a law and brainwashing people that this is bad and this is good. And people would cheer for anything. As I said, Nancy Pelosi and Senator Elizabeth Warren. Their donors behind them are billionaires. But they say Elon Musk is bad because he's a billionaire. But the people supporting them, who are also billionaires, that's okay. And people eat that up. People are cheering for Nancy Pelosi and essentially Senator Elizabeth Warren. They're cheering for them. But they're standing for corruption. And Elon Musk is standing against corruption. But people are cheering for politicians to steal more from them. Imagine that one, how crazy that is. People are cheering for politicians to steal more from them by standing and supporting Elizabeth Warren. But that's just the moronic side of human beings. This is why I say the world is the way it is, because we have too many morons. Too many morons. I'm getting a lot of things off my chest today. I think this back pain is making me just say it as how it is. But yeah, you know, on your question of essentially what's been why they're trying to hold back Ripple, is because of that. It's just because the politics side of it. But now Ripple's learned how to play the game. Ripple and Coinbase have both learned how to play the game of politics. And now they have politicians in their back pockets. And that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. That's a very good thing. Even though Bitcoin maxis will tell you that's a bad thing, that Ripple has access to politicians, that's a bad thing, is what Bitcoin maxis will tell their own moronic followers. But in reality, all Bitcoin maxis are morons, to be fairly honest. They believe in a token and they say, you know, it has no owner, that Bitcoin has no owner, and therefore that's a good idea. It's like buying a car with no manufacturer behind it. Would anybody buy a car with no manufacturer behind it? Would anybody buy a phone with no manufacturer behind it? Would anybody use a payment system with no manufacturer behind it? No. But again, they go around and say, oh, it has no one behind it. That's why it's good. It does. Someone did create it. We just don't know which agency yet. It could be China's CIA for as far as we know. Now, but yeah, that's the reason why Bitcoin is held back. Yeah, Bitcoin maxis are probably going to hate me, but life's tough. Get used to it. I couldn't care less if the Bitcoin maxis hate me. Honestly, life is tough. Get used to it. There's a reason why they say the truth hurts, because it does. I'm not going to hold on to it for... Okay, let me see where we are inside the comment section. Okay, we were here. Miles, can XD... So that's why, Funky Brother, we'll hold it back here. Miles, can XDC mimic XRP price movements? It can, yes. Mimic completely one-to-one ratio? No. It will follow its footsteps along the way. But it will do very good for itself. XDC is an incredible asset. I own BTC, but I was just hoping to get a decent profit from it in the bull run. Fair enough, Ronnie. No, if you hold Bitcoin, you're not a moron. Just want to clarify that. If you hold Bitcoin, you're not a moron. I just want to clarify that. If you hold Bitcoin, you're not a moron. What makes you a moron is when you become a Bitcoin maxi and you start believing in this deluded ideology that Bitcoin is faster, cheaper, easier to build on, and it's going to have a limited supply forever. That's when you become a moron, when you start believing in these, this moronic ideology. If you hold Bitcoin, you're not a moron. You only become a moron if you start believing those ridiculous ideologies, that it's a safe haven, it's a digital gold, it's a risk-off asset, when in reality it's a risk-on asset. That's when you essentially become a moron. But if you hold Bitcoin, you're not a moron. Just want to clarify that. You're not a moron if you hold Bitcoin. It's when you start believing in the ideologies of the Bitcoin maxis. And that's when you start tiptoeing into the moronic side rather than reality. So I just want to clarify that, Ronnie. Hey, brother. Dale, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? XRP, let's go back. Let's go carry. HBOT, let's go carry. Not going to hold on to it forever like my XRP and XLM, HBOT, AVAX, etc. Let's go. Ondo, let's go carry. XDC, also great as well. With BTC, I can only point DeFi, nothing else. But even that, it's DeFi altered. Yeah, it's true. It's true. XRP was designed 12 years ago, and it's still like quantum chip XRP was miles ahead in the financial markets. Facts. Absolute facts. Feels like the Wild West. People are going after property. It was free for all. Many failed, some prospered, but the smart money was the ultimate, like laying train tracks, telephone lines and ports. Facts. Let's go, Mickey. Facts. Absolute facts, Mickey. Miles, I have evidence that it was Swift who paid £220 million over 4 years to Elizabeth Warren and get against it to sue XRP. I wouldn't be surprised if Swift did any sort of movements like that. You know why I wouldn't be surprised if Swift did any sort of movements like that? So here's a little story of reality. Long time ago, Ripple was going around and trying to, test itself with banks. Long time ago, very long time ago. One day, Ripple was able to get its name with the Bank of International Settlements on a PDF document titled Cross-Border Payments. And on that document, Swift was there too, and Ripple was also there. Now, before that, Swift didn't care about blockchain. Swift was fully aware of Ripple's presence, because all companies are essentially fully aware of their competitors inside the market space. And Swift didn't care about Ripple because they never thought it was going to become what it has become today. So Swift said, blockchain, forget about it. Crypto, forget about it. CBDCs, forget about it. We're not interested, is what Swift said for the longest time, a long time ago. And then one day, Ripple was able, and they didn't care about Ripple, but they paid attention to Ripple. And this is how you know why. Because the day Ripple got their name on the same PDF document from the Bank of International Settlements, public information, free information, titled Cross-Border Payments. And it said Swift and it said Ripple. The day Ripple was able to get their name alongside Swift in the Bank of International Settlements document, PDF document titled Cross-Border Payments, Bank of International Settlements, 63 centralized banks under them. The day that happened, about a week after that, a week or 2 weeks after that, Swift went from, we don't care about blockchain, we don't care about CBDCs, we don't care about crypto, it's utter trash, to we're partnering with Chainlink. The timing's interesting. They hated CBDCs, they hated blockchain, they hated crypto. And they didn't see the point of a company like Ripple. Until Ripple got their name alongside Swift in a PDF document titled Cross-Border Payments. 2 weeks after that, they came out with, we've partnered with Chainlink. Even though 2 weeks before that, they were still singing the same two-thing song, the same two-thing essentially song of we hate crypto, we hate blockchain, we hate CBDCs, there's no point. So why partner with Chainlink 2 weeks after Ripple gets their name next to yours on a cross-border PDF documentation from the Bank of International Settlements? Why partner with Chainlink? So I wouldn't be surprised if Swift had a hand in the sabotage movement. It wouldn't surprise me in any sort of a way at all. Corporates are very greedy and power hungry, more than politicians. Politicians are only power hungry and greedy is because the people behind them make them power hungry and greedy. When in reality, politicians are just like me and you. Just get chosen to be a mouthpiece, essentially, for the power hungry and greedy. So politicians become power hungry and greedy. It's the donors behind them, the corporations behind them that are already greedy and power hungry. So it wouldn't surprise me in any sort of way that Swift would do that. Now, the interesting part, once that happened, I revealed it on this live a long time ago. Like, when that when that news broke out about the PDF documentation, I revealed it. And I said, if Ripple is essentially made it to this list, this is what I said exactly when that news came up. I said, if Ripple was able to get its name on the PDF documentation titled Cross-Border Payments, and it happened, I said, next, what's going to happen is that MasterCard is going to partner with Ripple. What do you know? About 3 weeks later, MasterCard partnered with Ripple. Why? Bank of International Settlements. You see, Ripple went from no threat, no threat, no threat to massive threat for SWIFT once they got their name alongside SWIFT on the same PDF documentations for cross-border payments. 2 weeks later, we've partnered with Chainlink. They went from we hate crypto, we hate CBDC, we hate blockchain, everything to do with it. Ripple gets their name right next to them. 2 weeks later, we partnered with Chainlink, is what SWIFT said. The same SWIFT that hated everything to do with blockchain. So it wouldn't surprise me if SWIFT somewhere down the line had a hand in the sabotage. It would not surprise me in any sort of a way. Not saying they do, but it wouldn't surprise me in any sort of a way. So I agree with you, Funky Brother. Yes, facts. Miles, these corrupt institutions will try their best to get all of us out of cryptocurrencies called XRP. They will never let us get rich easily. They will. These companies don't care about us too much at all because they know we will jump out at certain points anyways. You see, companies don't care about, they care about the consumers. They care about the consumers because they sell to us. But they care more about their competitors than they care about their consumers. They couldn't care less if we made a few $1 million because they have billions of dollars. And even if we did make a few $1 million, they know that most of us will blow through that money quickly. Some people, when they win the lottery, there's, for example, some people, this is a reason why a lot of people believe, for example, a lot of people believe inside the crypto space that companies, for example, or governments or so on, they don't let you get rich so easily. For example, of XRP. Let's just say in this scenario, because the question is on XRP. So, for example, some people would believe that, you know, it wouldn't be this easy to make millions of dollars from XRP because companies will try to sabotage the retail section from making millions of dollars. Companies care about the retail section up to a certain extent, but they care about the competitors even more because it's their competitors that can push them out the way, not the retail section. Because this is up to a certain extent of why they don't care about you, why SWIFT doesn't care about the consumers, why major corporations don't care about the consumers up to a certain extent. Because, for example, if some of you make money from a project like XRP somewhere down the road, some of you will probably blow through that money. Some of you will blow through that money. You buy a house, a car, go on some vacations, and that's about it. Some people will start going into real estate and doing some investments, and they won't last. But some people will jump out at the wrong time and jump out with, $3 million. Those corporations have billions in their bank accounts. Some have trillions in their bank accounts. They couldn't care less if you walked away with $3 million on XRP or $10 million on XRP. They couldn't care less because they're sitting on billions to trillions and they're still controlling the game. Remember, the house is in control, not you. You can make $10 million from XRP and the banks and the institutions couldn't care less. You can make $20 million. They still wouldn't care less because they're the ones controlling the game. You're just a player in town. Because they know that the most of you will probably, is what they presume. They presume that most of you will just blow through that cash. You will take vacations to Dubai and Monaco, and that's about it. Some people will go into investments. Their investments might go sour. They might end up losing their investments. Some people might borrow against their crypto assets, not be able to pay off their collateral, and then they'll lose their collateral. So there's a lot of scenarios that could go south for the retail section. That's why consumers, that's why essentially the institutions and the banks don't care about you making money on XRP. They don't care if you make $10 million from XRP. They don't care if you make $20 million from XRP or $50 million from XRP. Because they know that most of you will jump out too soon. They know that most of you will blow through your cash very quickly. It could be because you went to casinos in Las Vegas, or you do vacations back to back, or you buy a mansion and you can't afford to maintain it. There's a lot of scenarios in play, and they know all these scenarios. There's a reason why institutions and banks and essentially these key players are always going to be 1,000 steps ahead of the retail section because they're controlling everything. So they know. So this argument that a lot of people, essentially have in their mindset, which is they won't let you get so rich so easily from like projects like XRP. They'll never let a lot of people walk away with $10 million each. They couldn't care less if you walked away with $10 million each. You know why? Because you've also got the factor of tax in play, VAT in play. You've got the factors of you going into investments with your XRP $10 million and losing that. You've got the factor of essentially you buying properties that you can't maintain because you don't understand how the real estate space works. Or essentially you borrowing against your XRP and not being able to pay back the collateral. Or essentially you paying too much tax due to your jurisdictions. Or they're bringing some new law because you made your cryptocurrency in this country. That means you're liable for paying taxes in this essentially country, and you can't leave. There's so many scenarios in play of how they'll try to squeeze that money out of you later on. You might do it by mistake, by overspending and not prioritizing, correct investments, or they'll squeeze that money out of you in VAT and taxes. So the argument of people who keep on saying, keep this in mind, the argument of people who presume that essentially all the question or the debate that the institutions will never let you, or the banks will never let you walk away with $10 million in each XRP or $50 million in each XRP. They will, because later on they'll squeeze that money out of you some way. Now, some people won't get squeezed out of. Some people will play it smart. Some people will do very correct investments. Some people will get themselves financial advisors, professional financial advisors who understand the blockchain space, for example. And some people will go the correct path. So not everyone will get squeezed out of in terms of their $10 million or $20 million. Not everyone will be squeezed out of that money. There'll be smart individuals who will do the correct movements, who will go for the correct investments, who will take small percentages to live on, and they'll buy themselves, I don't know, a nice villa, for example, in a cheaper country. You could go to Portugal. Villas are very cheap there. You can go to essentially Italy, for example. Villas are very cheap there. Some people might decide just to go to Dubai, a bit more expensive. Some people might decide to go to Monaco, a bit more expensive. So it just all depends on how you play the game of life. So the debate of the institutions and banks won't let you make $10 million, $20 million, $50 million on XRP. They will. If you're smart enough, you'll make $50 million on XRP. If you're smart enough, you can make $100 million on XRP. But later on, most people, they will squeeze you out of that money some way. It could be tax, it could be VAT, it could be from yourself overspending. Genuinely, there's a reason why institutions and banks or high-profile key players are always going to be 10,000 steps ahead of the retail section, because they can see everything coming. You know why they can see everything coming? Because they laid it out. Think of it as a game developer. Think of it as a game developer. The person that creates Grand Theft Auto, for example, knows everything that's going to happen in that game, knows how every player is going to react, how every player is going to essentially play the character inside of Grand Theft Auto. So think of it like that. The person who laid it out knows every step all the way. So it's difficult for you to do something that will go, wow, never saw that one coming. Not saying it's impossible, because it's possible. Not saying it's impossible, but it's possible, but it's rare. So there'll be people that will play the cards right. They will do the correct investments. They will take small percentages and live a very amazing life. You can live an incredible life in Portugal or Greece or Italy, or you can go for a bit more fancier life in Monaco, a lot more expensive, or in Dubai, depends on where you go, a lot more expensive. You go cheaper places in Dubai, but you don't really want to be doing that. So it just depends on how you play the end game. So the argument of banks, banks will never, or institutions will never let you walk away with $10 million in XRP, is ridiculous, $20 million in XRP. They will, because later on, somehow, they know that the majority of you will mess it up, will completely miss the ballpark. They know that later on, most of you will just miss the ballpark and overspend and over-collateralize and do some wrong investments or get heavily taxed or VAT, and that's it. You're back to square one again. So just a heads up. So this is why I say you need to do. So later on, when the time comes, if you're following me, I'm always going to look after the CMF in every sort of way. and I don't do this for money in any sort of a way. I'm completely free of charge, and I'll always be free of charge. It's because I care. I genuinely do care. So I will always make sure that I'm on the right path. If everybody else wants to follow my footsteps to be on the right path, to make the right investments, to not overspend or over collateralize your life, then you can follow my footsteps. Or you can go and get yourself a very professional, financial advisor who understands blockchain and pay him a ton of money to put you on the right path. Or you can just follow me on the right path, where you can have a very great life and a long-lasting life. But yeah, the argument of the banks won't let you, because it's the very old, essentially, argument inside the crypto space, where they will never let a lot of people make a lot of money from XRP. They will never let a lot of people get rich from XRP. They are 1,000 steps ahead of you. They know what the majority of your steps are going to be. They know that you're going to go, most of you probably go overspend. Not saying the CMF members will do this in any sort of a way, but most people around the world, in terms of XRP users or XLM users or XDC users or HBOL or whatever users inside the crypto space, and most of them will overspend, over collateral, bad investments, taxes, VATs. They'll lose their money, so they don't care about you. Institutions and banks care about competitors more than they would care about the consumer, because the consumer can't push them out the way. The consumers can protest against them. For example, people protested against Starbucks. They lost a few $1 billion. Are they going bankrupt? No, they still survived. The consumers, the retail section, protested against Coca-Cola. Are they going bankrupt? No, they'll survive. So the institutions and the banks and so on, they don't really care, because the consumer has no choice to use them. It's their competitors they care about more, because their competitors can push them out of their seat. So keep that in mind. So next time somebody says to you, oh, they will never let a lot of people make millions of dollars from XRP, just know that the person that's saying that to you, that they'll never let you make $1 million from, millions of people. They'll never let, a lot of people make millions of dollars from XRP. That person has limited understanding, essentially, of how it's going to be moving forward. But it's just something that you should know about. Miles, does that mean our CMF party will be held in Manchester instead of Monaco? Nope. No, the CMF party is going to be held in Sardinia. I already said that. It's going to be held in Sardinia, which is right next to Monaco as well. So back and forward, essentially. Don't worry, the CMF has money. That was just for everybody else. Don't worry, the CMF has money. But it's just something you should know about, because there's a lot of questions inside the crypto space that somebody needs to answer them. Let me be the person that answers them, and I'll tell you truthfully of how it is. But yeah, you can live an amazing life in Italy, Greece, Portugal, Latin American countries, or you can go for a much more luxurious life in Monaco, high profile, essentially, villas. Not saying you shouldn't do that. If you want to do that, go do that. It's your choice, your money, your life, your decisions. Just always think about tomorrow. Always think about tomorrow. You never want to go back to level 1 again. If you're somebody that's climbing a ladder, the last thing you want to do is fall from that ladder and try to climb back up, because it's difficult. So don't fall from the ladder once you start climbing upwards. Let's see where we're at. They will never get rich easily. So yeah, Funky Bullets, just so you know, and everybody else out there as well. Just a heads up. These are the best lives. Let it all out, Miles. Let's go, Ghostman. I think it's my back pain that's making me just say it how it is. I love it when you get on your soapbox and let it out. Let's go, Shelly. Who cares about the BTC maxis? Let them fall with their BTC. All facts. Mal's been calling everything on point with famous crystal ball. Let's go, Ray. Yeah. Michael Saylor is a prime example of BTC maxis. He should have diversified his portfolio instead of going into financial debts and maybe bankruptcy. I'm going to call it. There's going to be a time. I'm going to call this now. There's going to be a time where things won't go the way strategy is thinking it's going to go. So MicroStrategy, for example, Michael Saylor. That guy has done a very big mistake. Now, I'm not saying I'm more intelligent than Michael Saylor. Who knows? Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. But he's definitely more wealthier than me. That's guaranteed. The guy has billions to his name. So he's definitely more wealthy than me. But what I would say is, he's definitely made a big mistake of going Bitcoin only. But here's the thing. As I said previously, Michael Saylor is betting on one key factor, and that is Trump creates a Bitcoin reserve, is what Michael Saylor is betting on. That's the only reason he started over-purchasing Bitcoin. It's the only reason he started over-purchasing Bitcoin. It's the only reason, essentially, he's back-to-back, no matter what the price of Bitcoin was, he was buying it. By the way, MicroStrategy has a loss of $1.2 billion. According to their new filings with the SEC, they have $1.2 billion loss. And tax season is coming up for them as well. So that's going to be interesting. One of what they're going to sell to pay that off. But he was betting on Bitcoin, essentially, Bitcoin reserve for the United States. And then Trump comes out and signs an executive order for crypto, basically, reserve, not a Bitcoin reserve, which then made Michael Saylor go around and tell other CEOs to buy Bitcoin, like Microsoft or Amazon, and beg them to pretty much buy Bitcoin. Or even went to India and begged CEOs in India to buy Bitcoin. No word of a lie. He wasn't able to get Microsoft or Amazon, essentially, Jeff Bezos, to buy Bitcoin, but he was able to get some Indian CEOs to buy Bitcoin. He flew over to India to, lay it out and say, buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin. Remember how much Michael Saylor tried to force himself into the Microsoft shareholder meeting? Everybody remember that? When Microsoft was trying to push himself into the shareholder meeting of Microsoft? I've never known anyone who's tried to force their way into some sort of a shareholder meeting of another company, which has zero relevance to them. But Michael Saylor tried to, and they rejected him, obviously, because he's not a Microsoft employee. So why would he be at a shareholder meeting? Because he said, I want to come there and tell you why you should buy Bitcoin. That's why it's the brilliant asset, it's the number one asset. Let me into your shareholder meeting. And Microsoft said, no. And then rejected the idea of buying Bitcoin. Jeff Bezos pretty much said the same thing. So because a Bitcoin reserve might be out of the question when it comes to the United States, and instead it's a crypto reserve, and it can be American crypto projects, which makes it even a worse case for MicroStrategy, which has made Michael Saylor go around the world begging CEOs to buy Bitcoin, so when the time comes to drop his bag, there's enough liquidity in the pot for somebody else to essentially do it. Because a company like, people will say, well, that's that doesn't make any sense because Bitcoin has a lot of liquidity. He doesn't need to get random CEOs around the world to buy Bitcoin. There's enough liquidity in there. Yes, but when a company like Michael Saylor starts selling off bit by bit, it raises alarms, which makes everybody else sell at the exact same time, which then empties the liquidity. But when you have CEOs around the world from random companies holding the asset, they don't even know what they're holding. It's just because Michael Saylor tried to shove Bitcoin down their throats. You can see where this is going. So if a Bitcoin reserve doesn't work out for Michael Saylor, he has to force other CEOs to buy Bitcoin because somebody has to hold the back for it. He didn't buy Bitcoin. Michael Saylor didn't buy Bitcoin because he thinks it's the number one asset, and it's just, that's it, Bitcoin forever. No, he's a businessman. He brought it for profit. He brought it on the basis that the United States government comes out and goes, we're doing a Bitcoin reserve. And MicroStrategy goes to a $1 trillion tremendous company because of the amount of Bitcoin they're holding. If America has a Bitcoin reserve, the world will have a Bitcoin reserve. And it's true, it would if America did have one. Because when the American markets sneeze, the world catches a cold, is the quote from the International Monetary Fund. And the other way is if the American markets do any sort of movements, major movements, the world will also follow their footsteps. So America does a Bitcoin reserve, the world does a Bitcoin reserve, and MicroStrategy has a tremendous amount of Bitcoin. He makes a tremendous amount of profit. Now, if he doesn't get his Bitcoin reserve, instead we get a crypto reserve, things don't plan out the way he wanted to. So he needs other CEOs to hold the bags. So he didn't do it because he believes that Bitcoin is the key player, is number one. He's a businessman. He did it for profit. He did it for profit. And If that profit doesn't come through for him, it's either it's going to go from strategy, which it used to be known as MicroStrategy. It's going to go from strategy to chapter 11 or chapter 15, international bankruptcy or domestic bankruptcy. It's going to go chapter 11 bankruptcy or chapter 15 bankruptcy. It's going to, honestly, it's going to go from MicroStrategy to strategy to chapter 11 or chapter 15. If they don't get, you know, a Bitcoin. He's a businessman. He's not in Bitcoin because he believes it's the #1 token. He's a very intelligent man. Michael Saylor is a very, very intelligent man. He could have played his cards differently, but he was in it for the massive profit. America creates a Bitcoin reserve. The world creates a Bitcoin reserve. He becomes a $1 trillion tremendous company. America comes out and signs an executive order for a crypto stockpile, not a Bitcoin stockpile. Which then things went a bit south for MicroStrategy. So he decides to double down and flies over to India to persuade other CEOs to buy more Bitcoin. Which CEO do you know that takes time out of their busy days to go around to different countries and tell other CEOs to buy this asset? I've never known once on any news channel, on any news article, where a CEO would take time out of their busy day to fly out to another country to talk to other CEOs and tell them, buy this stock, buy this stock. I've never seen that before, or buy this asset. Typically, inside the corporate sector, they keep things silent. If there's an institution out there that's making money, they keep it quiet. They want to make money for themselves and, you know, become bigger than their competitors. Sure, they will tell, you know, a few around them, but not fly out to different countries, take time out of the day to shove an asset down somebody else's throat of a CEO of another company. So there's a reason why he's taking time out of his busy day to fly out to India, because nobody in the US wanted to listen to him. There's a reason why he tried to push his way into a Microsoft shareholder meeting. It's because things aren't planning out the way he thought it was going to. He's a businessman. He's not in it because he believes in Bitcoin's tech. And him changing is because some people will also argue the point, oh, well, he changed his name of his company to Strategy and put a Bitcoin logo. Yes, to play that ideology even more, that he is a Bitcoin company. He's just playing into the role. He's trying to sell it. That we are a Bitcoin company. He's trying to sell it that we are a Bitcoin company. Because he's genuinely not that stupid to bet, you know, is genuinely not that stupid. So there's a reason why he's going around to different CEOs around the world and trying to tell them buy this asset, because no CEO does that. I've never seen Jeff Bezos fly out to another essentially country, tell other CEOs buy Amazon stock, buy Amazon stock. I've never seen Bill Gates fly out to any CEOs around the world and tell them buy Microsoft stocks. I've never seen Apple send their employees around the world to tell other CEOs around the world to buy Apple stocks. Have you ever seen that? No. There's a reason why Michael Saylor is going around telling all the CEOs around the world to buy Bitcoin, because it seems like things aren't planning out the way he thought they were supposed to. So then he comes up with this brilliant idea. Let me change the company name to Strategy. Play the role even more. That, you know, we're here to stay. This is here to stay. We're a Bitcoin company now. Let me just play that role even more. Let's not forget, the money that he used to buy that tremendous amount of Bitcoin is on convertible notes. That's going to run out on 2027, which means he has to sell or extend, depending on if he has any profits in his company. And a lot of things can happen by 2027. And according to JP Morgan's analyst, Nicholas, apparently investors aren't that keen on Bitcoin ETFs and Ethereum ETFs anymore, and they want alternatives. That's according to JP Morgan's analyst, Nicholas, that came out today and said that investors want more alternative assets. They're tired of Bitcoin ETF, Ethereum ETF. They're starting to lean away from it. They want more alternative assets. And let's not forget, we have about 20 to 30 different types of ETF altcoins in line to be approved. So if the institutions start walking away and going, you know what, we've had our fun with Bitcoin ETFs. Now we want to expand, because now we're going into regulations and utility. Now we want to expand further on. Because let's just not lie to ourselves. Bitcoin has zero utility. It has zero utility. Has limited supply. That's pretty much it. So he's just playing a role, a very good role, of we are a Bitcoin company. Now we're called Strategy and we've put the Bitcoin logo. Why are you flying around to different CEOs trying to shove Bitcoin down their throats? There's a reason. He thought he was going to get a Bitcoin reserve. And then Trump comes out and it's a crypto reserve on his executive order. His dreams are shattered. He doesn't know what to do. He goes, if time progresses, we were betting on Trump for a Bitcoin reserve. Now we don't have a Bitcoin reserve. Instead, we have a crypto reserve. What are we going to do? Let's play this role even further. Let's fly out to India, get CEOs to buy Bitcoin. Because the Microsoft shareholder didn't let them in. He's a businessman. He's in it for the profit. He doesn't care about Bitcoin. Genuinely. I'm sorry also to shatter that dream for the Bitcoin maxis that you thought you had Michael Saylor on your team. No, he's only in there for a profit because he thought Bitcoin ETF for America. The world then follows America's footsteps, creates a Bitcoin ETF because America did it first. And then his company goes from here to here. And then Trump comes out, signs an executive order, and Bitcoin was not mentioned anywhere. It was just a digital asset executive order in general for cryptocurrencies, which completely shattered his dreams. So if you're somebody out there and you're Bitcoin maxi and you genuinely think to yourself, Michael Saylor is out there, for us, he's supporting the Bitcoin maxis, he's supporting Bitcoin. Not really the case. He's a businessman. He's in there for a profit, and he thought he was going to make a quick buck, a very good buck, betting on Bitcoin for Bitcoin reserve, and that never happened. And then remember when Trump signed that executive order, all the Bitcoin maxis were angry. Even Michael Saylor was not, doing okay. He was a bit angry as well. He was a bit ticked. What do you mean crypto reserve? I thought it was a Bitcoin reserve. Is how all the Bitcoin maxis reacted. Even Michael Saylor, they were confused. What's happening? What's this crypto reserve? We all thought Bitcoin. I wasn't confused. It made a lot more sense. I said this from the start. It makes a lot more sense to create a crypto reserve than a Bitcoin reserve. It makes a lot more sense. But yeah, there's a reason why he's going around trying to shove Bitcoin down random CEOs' throats. Trying to hope someone buys it. Because if there's no ETF, the worst part is actually, you know what the funny part? So there's an organization in the US that's supposed to hold the seized Bitcoins, for example. So here it is. So let me tell you about this one. I want to tell you a bit by bit of it because here we go. The US Marshals. The US Marshals are the ones that hold the seized Bitcoin. They're the ones that hold any seized asset. So any cases America does. So it could be the Bitcoin fraud cases that happen with the exchanges and the Americans seized the Bitcoins or seized any crypto assets or seized boats or cars or houses. The US Marshals are the ones that seize all these assets in these major cases in America. You want to know a funny part? The US Marshals don't know where they put the crypto wallets for the seized Bitcoin. So the US Marshals were asked about the seized Bitcoins, the seized other essentially crypto wallets. And they said, we don't know exactly how many tokens we have. And they said, what do you mean you don't know exactly how many tokens you have? They said, yeah, we don't know. They said, okay, check how many tokens you have. He said, yeah, we're going to look around and see for what? The wallet. Yeah. It turns out the US Marshals also already lost 2 Ethereum wallets. So there was an update. There was an update and the US Marshals lost 2 Ethereum wallets already. Now, who knows if they lost the Bitcoin wallet as well, or some of the Bitcoin wallets. And why it's funny is because the executive order said any seized assets will be held also. And if America comes out and basically, just buys American crypto projects and the seized assets, and they're not really holding that much Bitcoin because most of it is lost by the US Marshals, that will be even more funnier for you, essentially for Michael Saylor, because if America doesn't buy Bitcoin and instead buys American crypto projects, And it was an interesting tweet from Trump tweeting out Ripple on Truth Socials. That was an interesting tweet as well a few days ago. But if Trump just, does American crypto projects and supports America only, which makes sense because it's Trump, it's America first. Last week, if you think about it, where is Bitcoin from again? So knowing Trump, it's America first, which I understand. Every country should put their own country first, guaranteed. And Bitcoin is technically not American. So if he does America first and only buys American crypto projects, and then the seized assets are supposed to be in it as well, and they don't even hold that much Bitcoin because most of it's been lost, that looks even worse for MicroStrategy. Imagine the US comes out and goes, we only have 20,000 Bitcoins or 10,000 Bitcoins. We're supposed to have this many Bitcoins, but the US Marshals lost all of it. That would be even worse for MicroStrategy, because imagine if they don't buy anymore. It's just, we have 10,000 Bitcoins and about this many XRP because it's American, this many XLM because it's American, this many Cardano because it's American. That would look even 10 times worse for MicroStrategy. And they never buy Bitcoin because it's not American. They end up buying other American projects. So let's see how that plays out for MicroStrategy in the long run. But yeah, the US Marshals lost. So here it is. US Marshal Service can't say how much crypto it holds, complicating the Bitcoin reserve plan. US Marshals, the USMS, is tasked with managing assets seized by law enforcement in the course of criminal investigations like real estate, cash, jewelry, antiques, vehicles, anything that's seized by the American government, the US Marshals are in possession of. Unfortunately, when it came to Bitcoin, they didn't really know what it was, or if crypto in general, they didn't know what it was, so they didn't know how to handle it properly. So they ended up losing somewhere down the line 2 wallets for Ethereum as well. So far of what they said, it could be a lot more. So however, essentially, for example, it also is supposed to be handling cryptocurrencies. For example, the billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin seized by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, from the darknet, essentially marketplace Silk Road 2013. However, the USMS, the US Marshals, doesn't seem to know how much crypto it currently has. How could you not know how much crypto you have as a US Marshal? In fact, the agency is struggling to come up with the rough estimate of even its Bitcoin holdings. That could be a problem in the light of the White House's crypto Caesar, David Sachs, who's coming in. Announcement earlier this month that the US government is actively studying essential possibilities of constituting a national crypto reserve, meaning that the government might stop liquidating essentially seized cryptocurrencies and even potentially make crypto essentially purchases, most cases for American crypto projects. So when you start talking about reserves, you need to be familiar with the unique properties of assets like fork, airdrops, and essentially constant volatility. Said less, the co-founder of Wave Digital Assets, a firm that provides asset management services and has been in dispute with the US Marshals over not essentially getting hired as a contractor. In an interview of CoinDesk, this co-founder of this company said, "You have to have agencies educated enough or dealing with professionals that understand how to help them achieve their goals. Even if crypto reserves never see the light of day, managing and liquidating seized digital assets is a crucial role for the agency, especially since assets is used to help fund the Department of Justice. As far as I'm aware, the US Marshal is currently managing with this individual keystroke in an Excel spreadsheet." The US Marshals, this is how crazy it is. Sorry, one sec. Sorry about that. I had an eyelash in my eye, which was making me, there we go, smiley out. So apparently the US Marshals are holding the seed phrases for the seized Bitcoin worth billions of dollars on an Excel spreadsheet. $1 billion wallet's seed phrases are on an Excel spreadsheet, and they're not kept in some encrypted folder. No, just on an Excel spreadsheet. And Chip, for example, the vice president of capture strategy and proposals at essentially ADEX Corporation, a firm that provides technological solutions to the US government, and was also turned down by the US Marshals, essentially contract, told CoinDesk that Bowman said he saw the US Marshals process occur in real time in 2023. They're one bad day away from $1 billion mistake. The US Marshals are 1 day away from $1 billion mistake. The agency's troubles with crypto aren't new. For example, Timothy Clark, CEO of crypto consulting firm ECC Solutions, told CoinDesk that a lot of frustration had been built up against the US Marshals from both the public and private sector over the years. And by years is during the Biden administration. Biden's administration of circus freaks really did a number on America on every aspect. They really damaged the American economy from every angle. The spreadsheet on which the agency was relying on to track its various crypto holdings also contained inaccuracies. The OIG found, for example, in November 2022, 5 months after the OIG report was published, the US Marshals stated while it was looking for a contractor to help it handle its crypto assets, that it had already lost control of 2 Ethereum wallets due to a software update. It is unclear if the private key is inaccurate or the wallet has malfunctioned, the agency said. The contractor will identify the issuance and potentially open the wallet. If the wallet cannot be opened, documentation of efforts taken to unlock or open the wallet will be provided to the USG. Clark told CoinDesk in an interview that it was unclear whether the issues with Ethereum wallets had occurred before or during or after the OIG audit. The OIG report itself makes no mentions of mismanaged Ethereum wallets or missing Ethereum. So in their reports of, are you maintaining the crypto wallets safely and securing them safely? They lied. They said, yes, we're maintaining all the crypto wallets safely. There's no mismanagement. We're not holding the seed phrases in Excel spreadsheets. In reality, they were holding the Excel spreadsheets. They lost 2 Ethereum wallets already. 2 Ethereum wallets. As far as we know, they could have lost a lot more. Even their Bitcoin wallets. At a minimum, it speaks to a lack of a backup wallet, a lack of of another storage, at least 2 wallets to have for backups, update and handling procedures, Clark said. The perception is that everything has remained the same since 2022 on the OIG findings, John said. A chief operating officer at ADEX told CoinDesk in an interview. CoinDesk did an interview of multiple CEOs, essentially, and co-founders that had contacted the US Marshals for over the years to help them maintain these assets. And the US Marshals kept on rejecting them. But every time they had a conversation, something has already went south for the US Marshals. And ADEX told CoinDesk in an interview that he said he understands there to be a single employee managing the assets disposal. Right now, on a retail account through the agency, it wasn't available to confirm such details. He said the task had been assigned to a senior employee despite the massive financial responsibilities and liabilities this one person controls. There is one senior staff member who has zero understandings of blockchain in control of the billions of dollars of crypto seized by the US Marshals. And 2 wallets have already went missing, and the seed phrases of some wallets are kept on Excel spreadsheets. And this is Biden's administration. This was during Biden's administration. All this information was revealed today. So, Elon Musk, I know you're going around, essentially, and looking at, with the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, and going around and looking at all government agencies. Please look into the US Marshals, because by the looks of it, something doesn't add up in terms of the government wallets for the US, because they have a senior member of control of it who's lost 2 wallets already due to an update, holds seed phrases on Excel sheet, and has zero understanding of blockchain. and he's in control of billions of dollars. So Elon Musk, if you are by any chance coming into this live and seeing it even for a glimpse, looking into the US Marshals Department for seized assets, because something's not adding up. So that makes it worse for somebody like essentially Michael Saylor, who was betting on America having a big batch of Bitcoin essentially for their reserves, for their crypto stockpile. Because by the looks of it, let's see how much is left from the US Marshals. Now, also, the other thing I told you about, JP Morgan. Institutional interest in Bitcoin and Ethereum is fading, says JP Morgan. Some people could call this biased because it's JP Morgan. Others might say, okay, let's see what the report is. Because everyone knows JP Morgan hates Bitcoin, but they do hold Bitcoin. But then it's not just Bitcoin they're saying is fading away for. It's Ethereum and Bitcoin. Just want to clarify, they're not talking about the entire crypto space. Just Bitcoin and Ethereum is what JP Morgan is stating. And as far as you know, JP Morgan loves Ethereum. So why would they mention something bad about it? Is it because it's true? Here it is. Institutional interest in Bitcoin and Ethereum is fading. A perspective coming in from JP Morgan. Financial markets do not react solely to numbers, but also to feelings and expectations of investors. In the crypto universe, where essentially volatility is the norm, every single essentially or by major institutions can influence trends inside the market space. This time it is JP Morgan that throws stones in the pond. The American bank believes that Bitcoin and Ethereum, just Bitcoin and Ethereum, market faces an increased bearish risk due to institutional investors losing interest in them, and they want something more, like access to the rest of the crypto space, which is about to open up slowly. Such analysis is based on the evolution of figures in contracts from the CME, which shows signs of critical weakness for Bitcoin and Ethereum in terms of the ETF space. Institutional investors' enthusiasm for crypto, when it comes to Bitcoin and Ethereum, seems to have waned in recent weeks, according to JP Morgan's report led by Nicholas. He said, indeed, the bank observes a sharp decline in demand for Bitcoin and Ethereum futures contracts from the CME, a key indicator of the essentially interest of the major market players. The total market capitalization of crypto has dropped by 15%, decreasing from $3.72 trillion to $3.2 trillion. That's only because Bitcoin has the majority of the market space in its market cap. A movement that has been accompanied by the situation on the futures contracts because of Bitcoin and Ethereum institutions are losing interest in those two assets. In other words, the prices of these contracts of Bitcoin and Ethereum have fallen below those of their spot markets, a configuration that generally reflects a growing disinterest from professional investors. This trend particularly worries JP Morgan, which sees essentially a structural bearish signal for these two assets when it comes to institutions. In this report, the bank explains this is a negative development indicating weakness in demand from institutional investors who are using regulated CME futures contracts to gain exposure to these two assets, in quotes. They said Bitcoin and Ethereum in quotes. A lack of interest from major financial institutions can cause a sharper decline. If institutional investors are easing off when it comes to these two assets, it is largely due to the macroeconomic context less conceived to the increased risk-taking. Thus, according to JP Morgan, major policy decisions surrounding crypto inside the United States, which essentially are not expected before the second half of the year, which allows for a period of uncertainty. Without strong catalysts, some players prefer to take their profits while awaiting clearer signals. Other factors weigh on demand as well. JP Morgan, for example, points out that momentum trading funds, notably commodities trading advisors, are reducing their exposure to these two particular assets, further intensifying the selling pressure on the market. These trading strategies, which are based on a trend strength, have become less optimistic about Bitcoin and Ethereum in recent months. Again, not the entire crypto space, just these two assets. And they've put these assets in quotes as well. A weakening of momentum, technical signals means that these essentially influential players are adopting a more cautious stance, reinforcing their risk of steeper corrections. So, according to JP Morgan's analyst, Nicholas, institutions are losing interest in Bitcoin and Ethereum. And they're waiting for the regulations to drop. Why are the institutions waiting for regulations to drop? Is it because they want to buy more Bitcoin and Ethereum when the regulations drop? No, because once the regulations drop, guess who, that opens up the rest of the market space to? The institutions. They can have access to XRP ETFs, XLM ETFs, Litecoin ETFs, Solana ETFs, HBAR ETFs. The floodgates open. So the institutions are slowing down their purchases of Bitcoin, Ethereum ETF, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and essentially Ethereum ETFs in their futures contracts, and they're waiting on the sidelines for the rest of the market space to, open their floodgates. They're waiting for regulations. Regulations equals to the rest of the market space, which is great news for us, people who are holding assets like XRP, XLM, XDC, HBAR, Cardano, list goes on. Also, CBDCs. Some people think CBDCs are going away. Reality, they're not. A name change might happen, but it's never going away. Wholesale CBDCs is definitely not going away. And wholesale CBDCs is what centralized banks are going to use for domestic and international payments between themselves and around the world. For example, the European Central Bank is ramping up their wholesale CBDC platform developments. The European Central Bank, ECB, is expanding the developments of a wholesale central bank digital currency CBDC payment settlement system in terms of transactions between institutions. Establishing a new system will occur in two phases. First, the CBDC settlement platform will be developed, while the second phase involves a deeper integration into existing, essentially, European Central Bank systems, such as foreign currency exchange markets. Foreign currency exchange markets is where XRP will play a role in medium of payments. European Central Bank Executive Board member Piero, the central bank official overseeing the wholesale CBDC initiative, said the program will help achieve a more harmonized and integrated European financial ecosystem. The European Central Bank has explored CBDCs in different capacities since 2020, including a consumer essentially facing retail digital euro and a wholesale cross-border settlement between central banks. CBDCs are often criticized due to privacy concerns, potential threats to individual autonomy by centralized state entities, and the lack of essentially any fundamental change in inflationary mechanics of digitalized essentially fiat currencies. During a press conference, the European Central Bank, Christine Lagarde, told reporters she was confident. This is the president, essentially, of the European Central Bank, the president of the European Central Bank. She said she is confident that central banks under the Eurozone system would not adopt Bitcoin as a reserve asset. The European Central Bank president has said that Europe in general will not be adopting a Bitcoin reserve at all. Instead, their aim is wholesale CBDC. Full stop. Again, a shattering blow to Bitcoin. And she also essentially said that Christine Lagarde also implied that Bitcoin was too volatile, liquid, and unsafe to be used as a reserve for Europe's banking institutions. Which, she might be a CBDC lover, but she's telling the truth. It is volatile. Some people don't like hearing that, but it is volatile. And then, on the basis of Canada, for example, moving away from the European Central Bank, Canada's OSFI sets new guidelines for banks to manage crypto exposure. Canada's banking regulator, the Office of essentially Superintendent of Financial Institutions, the OSFI, has introduced rules for banks to manage their exposure in cryptocurrencies as interest in digital assets continues to grow in the country. Canada is taking the footsteps of America, getting ready for some sort of a crypto reserve, and also getting ready for Canadian banks to work with cryptocurrencies. We're getting to that stage of regulations utility. The OSFI announced the final guidelines in the regulator's quarterly report on cryptocurrency assets, together with consultation on capital requirements, aimed at a major shift in regulatory approach. In essentially the US, where requirements are expected to ease, the initiative marks a significant step in digital assets and financial stability. According to the Globe and Mail, the OSFI has been reviewing how Canada's banks manage risk associated with crypto assets. These include platforms and currencies such as Bitcoin in their clients' portfolios. And that, according to the regulations, banks should consider crypto and sit essentially directly on their balance sheets, as well as asset exposure among their customers at a time of adoption of digital assets is improving. The Globe and Mail has reported that Canadians who own Bitcoin or crypto assets in general have jumped in the numbers, largely among men, as per figure released by the Bank of Canada in December. While the OSFI is of the view that the current risk is relatively low, activity is picking up quickly, which calls for more oversight, according to essentially Assistant Superintendent and Chief Strategy and Risk Officer Angie. And she said, we're in a market where crypto is starting to pick up dramatically, is what Angie said during a conference call with the reports. And Canada's not lying. Crypto is picking up dramatically. Beautifully said, because it is. With the SEC and CFTC after a decade coming together just for the crypto space to process regulations faster, Wall Street is sitting on the sidelines waiting for the regulations to jump inside the rest of the market space. A lot of things are happening. And once again, as I said previously, whatever America does, the world will follow its footsteps. And on the topic of Ripple, Ripple CEO reacts to the SEC's surprising decision. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, what surprising decision from the SEC? The surprising decision of ending the Coinbase case. So here it is. Ripple CEO Brad has reacted to the SEC's surprising decision to drop the Coinbase case, claiming that the agency is now moving on quickly from the policies of previous administrations. As I said previously to everyone, the SEC is moving incredibly fast. I said the new SEC is moving incredibly fast. It might not seem like it, but they are. And as I said previously to everyone, that Paul Atkins doesn't need to be there for the SEC to dismiss cases in any sort of a way, and that the SEC's acting chairman, Mark, can dismiss cases, is what I said. I said he can dismiss cases in a legal procedure, and he doesn't need Paul Atkins to be there to be able to dismiss any cases. And that is exactly what's happening. He is dismissing cases. The first one was Blockchain Association, the second one now being Coinbase case. So he said, this is what Ripple CEO said, suffice to say, as I knew there are lots of impatient people, including me, he said, Ripple CEO, this SEC has demonstrated a clear interest in moving on quickly from the failed regulations on essentially by the enforcement policies of the last administration, he said, as reported by essentially Coinbase's CEO as well. Coinbase's CEO, Brian Armstrong, announced that the agency, the SEC, will drop the case against the leading US exchange. Notably, the trading platform will not have essentially to pay even a symbolic fine or offer any sort of payments or services to the SEC at all. And I guess the SEC is not waiting for Paul Atkins, or Scott Atkins, to be confirmed before making big crypto moves, he said. Even though the new SEC administration was expected to adopt a much more friendlier stance towards crypto, the decision still caught a lot of industry participants by surprise. A lot of people were surprised that the acting chairman, Mark, of the SEC is dismissing cases. Nobody thought he would do any sort of dismissals until Atkins comes in as the chairman of the SEC. You know who wasn't surprised? Me. I said the acting chairman of the SEC can dismiss cases. in a legal procedure, he can dismiss cases if he wants to. He doesn't have to wait for essentially Atkins to come in as the chairman of the SEC for him to dismiss cases. He can dismiss cases if he wants to. So the only person that wasn't surprised on that news was me. But if you're wondering to yourself, the Ripple case, is that next to be dismissed? You know, Binance case got paused. Blockchain Association case dismissed. Coinbase case dismissed, now getting dismissed. Ripple case, is it next? Yes, Ripple case is a little bit more complex due to the $125 million fine. So it's either the SEC dismisses the case and doesn't accept any payments and lets Ripple just walk away and say, you know what, forget the payments. Let's just end this case. They can, if they want to do that. They can just come to an agreement where they both walk away and everybody walks away into the sunset. Or the SEC can come to an agreement with essentially Ripple through the Second Circuit, essentially, that they want to reduce the payment of the fine so that Ripple pays a little bit of fine and they both get to walk away. Or in some sort of other way to end the case within the legal framework of the United States government. However they play it, this case is ending. Ripple case is pretty much next. It can also be the Kraken case next as well, because that's a very quick one to end. The Ripple case is because of Gary Gensler essentially appealing the case is what made it more complex, because that moron decided to appeal the case. But then again, Gary Gensler appealing the case might have worked out in favor of Ripple. Because hear me out. Gary Gensler appealed the case, which means Ripple didn't have to pay $125 million. If the SEC comes to an agreement with Ripple and they just end the case, essentially a dismissal in a legal manner, they end the case through the judge, and Ripple might get away to walk away and pay nothing. So maybe Gary Gensler, in his eyes, Gary Gensler was doing it because he had to stop Ripple from growing, and he appealed the last second on purpose. But imagine Ripple gets to walk away free-handed, just gets to walk away. Doesn't have to pay a single penny because Gary Gensler appealed the case, and now we're at this stage, which means if the SEC wants to come to dismiss the Ripple case, they both get to walk away and pay zero. That would be interesting. Gary Gensler will be fuming because Gary Gensler could have squeezed $125 million out of Ripple, and instead he gets to squeeze nothing. But even though he's not the chairman of the SEC anymore, but he would be fuming. He spent his life on trying to go after Ripple. He spent his entire life trying to go after Ripple, you can pretty much say. And at the end, imagine Ripple gets to walk away with no repercussions, except the legal fees, that's okay. But they get to walk away with zero repercussions. Gary Gensler will be fuming because Gary Gensler did waste everybody's time as well. He did appeal the case last second. I mean, who does that? Nobody does that inside the corporate sector. Nobody does that in general. The SEC never appeals the last second on purpose. Every time. They really hated Ripple. Whoever was behind Gary Gensler really hated Ripple. But in general, imagine this appeal makes Ripple walk away and pay zero. How beautiful will that be? Gary Gensler won't be able to sleep at night. Now, on that note, Ripple being next, we have reached the endings of tonight's live. I just want to say, Sam, thank you so much for the £20 donation as well, brother. I just saw it. Per character sliding on the floor on his knees saying go is the emoji with the £20. Sam, thank you so much for the £20 donation, brother. It's going straight into the CMF hedge fund to start it up. Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for the £20 donation, brother. And all good things must come to an end, which they have now. This is the endings of tonight's live. This was the CMF live of me saying it how it is on tonight's episode. If you tuned in the middle, if you tuned in towards the end, go and watch this live from the beginning, because there were some interesting parts in this live. And this was episode 267. This was episode 267 of the CMF live. And for episode 268, tune in on Monday, because this live that you're watching right now airs Monday to Friday, 11:25 p.m. GMT time. So United Kingdom time, in other words. Before we go, let's go start the comment section first, because there might be some questions there as well. But Sam, honestly, thanks so much for the £20 donation, brother. Let's see where we're at inside the comment section. We were... Miles, where would you move everybody else? Any thoughts? Where would you move and everybody else? Any thoughts? Italy, beautiful country. This is CMF Raw. Please, more lives like this. Give us the raw truth more often, please. Let's go, Mickey. Just like, did everybody like this live? How it was too, I did a very raw live today. It was very raw. Mickey, no problem. I'll give you more lives like this. Just like Ether ETFs will never get approved. I know the BTC, he got that wrong as well. That's true, he did. Maybe Michael isn't as the smart man after all. He cannot predict what happens tomorrow. It's true, he can't, but some people can. Yeah, that's true, yeah. Shareholders want other ETFs, maybe because Bitcoin and Ethereum are expensive at the moment. Investors can get better cryptos at much more cheaper prices. Facts. And what Ghostburner has said, facts. I mean investors, yep. Facts, I agree. I think Michael is waiting for BTC to reach 1 million before he will buy more BTC. Is that Senior Marshal's name, Gary Gensler? It could be. Absolutely correct. Let's go, Thompson. XRP, let's go, Susie. Best of all, you got to consider Shiba as well is going to be a part of the ETF as well. In addition, the recent partnership with the UAE, go Shiba, let's go. Let's go, Thompson. Facts. I mean, it is going to do some major movements as well. Once again, Sam, thank you so much for a £20 donation, bro. Absolutely amazing. It's going straight towards starting up the CMF hedge fund. Go. Good looking out, Sam. Let's go, Ray. Night Miles and CMF. Pablo, let's go. Great live. Great to see you back, bro. Like, share, and comment for support. Take care, Miles and CMF. Ray, see you tomorrow, but same time as usual. Good night, Miles and CMF. Great live and news. See you tomorrow. Free forever. See you tomorrow. Same time. Tomorrow. See you on Monday. Same time. Today's Friday, right? I'm on pills, but yeah, today's Saturday, man. See you on Monday, same timing as usual. Thank you, Miles. Have a wonderful night all. Let's go, Lena. See you on Monday, same time as usual. Good night, Miles, and all the CMFs. Thank you for all the news and great live. JP, let's go. See you on Monday, same time as usual. Night, Miles. Wonderful live, as always. As usual. Night, CMF. Joe, let's go. See you on Monday, same time as usual. Thank you, Miles, and have a good night, CMF. Let's go, Stormy. See you on Monday, same time as usual. You're welcome, Miles. I like you pointed at Italy and Portugal. Good, mate. Let's go, Gally. I'll see you on Monday, same time as usual as well. Okay, we have reached the endings on tonight's live. And if you really do want to move to another country, Italy, Sardinia, amazing. Portugal, amazing. Beautiful countries. Now, on a different note, if you're watching this live for the first time ever, this is the CMF Live. It stands for Crypto Miles Family. My name is Miles. I go by persona Crypto Miles, and I talk about the most recent news happening around the world in terms of cryptocurrencies, CBDCs, AI, politics, regulations, vital information for you to know about regarding the world completely transforming into a digital space. And I just read Ray's comment that says, not I'm on pills, peace out. Ray, see you tomorrow. Same timing as tomorrow. See you on Monday, same timing as usual. I will be seeing everybody on Monday, same timing as usual. This was episode 267 of the CMF Live. I will see you. I'll see everyone on Monday, same time as usual, 11:25 p.m. UK time, GMT time, in other words, for the CMF Live episode 268 on Monday. Everybody have a great day, a great night, a great weekend, and I will see everybody back on Monday, same time as usual. Like, comment, share, retweet, and follow and subscribe if you watch us on X or YouTube. See everybody on Monday, same time as usual. CMF, have a great day, great night, and an amazing weekend. I'll see everybody on Monday, same time as usual.